These people, they belong to this cartel, La Unión, and basically they control the entire city. Their headquarters are in Tepito, one of the biggest black markets in the world. I mean, anything you want, anything at all, you can find it in Tepito.
I've done dozens of stories about the cartels in Mexico over the years. But not long ago, my friend, journalist Miguel Angel Vega, called me to say that he'd gained access to an emerging black market that I'd heard about, but never been able to crack. Until now. It's not cocaine, weed, or heroin, and it's not guns. It's a potentially deadly product that's making its way across the US border and may already be in your home. Counterfeit pharmaceuticals.
Do you think we're going to be safe?
I don't know. I can tell you. They say nada se mueve, nada respira sin nuestro permiso.
Wow. So nothing moves here, nothing breathes here without our permission.
Right.
Tepito, it's one of those places that you can't really go in with cameras unless you know somebody there, right?
Right. Because there are people all over the place, like lookouts, and you never know who they are. Can be anybody.
I've worked with Miguel many times over the last decade, but I've never seen him this nervous.
You have been spending a lot of time here making contact with...
It's been very difficult. We finally were able to speak with one of the people that belong to La Unión. He said, first of all, I want to talk to Mariana, because sometimes there are cops. They believe you're a cop.
Of course, always. And that's what's happening right now.
We're meeting the guy right now. We're going there. Here's the place.
Yeah. You're gonna call him?
Yeah, I need to call him. ¿Qué pasó? Oye, ya estamos aquí en el lugar que acordado.
Sí, ahí vamos para allá.
Oye, hay mucha, está medio placoso por acá, está ahí sospechoso. ¿Sí estamos seguros aquí?
Sí, espera, ya voy, sí.
Ok.
La Unión, the cartel we're waiting to meet, has a notorious reputation for violence. And a newfound interest in the troubled American healthcare system.
The next time you go to the drugstore, you might be in for sticker shock.
Medical bills across the U.S. are extremely high.
Drug companies have quietly raised the price on hundreds of medications.
Americans pay more for prescription meds than people in most other countries. While price trends have been decreasing around the world in recent years, in the U.S., they've soared.
$600 for 1 month's supply of insulin.
$8,591.
It's how much?
$18,000.
That's so outrageous.
Here's a prescription. It was $1,000. I know I have to go in and tell my 9-year-old son. I couldn't pay for it.
The difference between the U.S. healthcare system and basically every other developed country's healthcare system is in the U.S., a bad diagnosis might mean bankruptcy. But in these other countries, there is a government body that can step in and negotiate or regulate maximum prices. In the United States, the government cannot step in to regulate what the outer limit is, and so pharmaceutical companies can charge whatever the market will bear.
As American healthcare and insurance companies rake in billions of dollars in record profits, patients are struggling to afford the medications they need. This has opened the door to some unsavory new players, eager to cash in on the demand for cheaper prescription drugs. And that's how I've ended up here, on a sketchy corner in the most dangerous neighborhood in Mexico City.
Oh, there's...
That's him?
Oh, he's over there, yeah.
¿Qué viene?
Viene por acá.
No, todos vienen a ver si está todo.
Un taxi.
Rey el disfrazado.
They drive around in a taxi to pretend they're not who they are.
Taxis are like the biggest lookouts.
Hola, ¿cómo está, Mariana? ¿Todo bien? Mucho gusto.
This is a member of La Unión, a man we'll call Señor T.
Nosotros al gato, si nos hemos tomado el argumento de investigar un poquito.
Claro.
Saber con quién vamos a hablar más que nada, ¿verdad? Y saber que no trae de cola al gobierno más que nada.
Ok.
¿Me sigue?
Claro.
Ya esto vamos a colar.
Ok. Gracias. Okay. So that was sketchy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the lookout. You see, he's got a few of these like dirt bikes, almost like motorbike bicicletas. So now we're following this guy. Don't lose him, Miguelito.
I won't.
We're being escorted with the lookouts and bikes. See? And he even has his, do you see the lights on?
Yeah. Kind of
Super
escorted.
professional, huh? It's so crazy that this is happening in the capital, you know, in Mexico City.
Yeah, let's get off the car.
Una pregunta que hago siempre porque es mejor para nosotros saber. ¿Ustedes están armados ahorita?
Sí.
Señor T's associate, Amarillo, not his real name, is a sicario, a hitman. The two of them work closely to keep La Union's various business endeavors running smoothly.
Apenas llegamos, ya sabías que estábamos allá.
Ya, de hecho, ya nosotros ya los veníamos siguiendo.
Ustedes tienen control aquí de la ciudad.
Nosotros traemos todo el control de aquí de la Ciudad de México
¿Ellos están involucrados?
de droga, tanto como marihuana, LSD, cocaína, piedra, cristal.
Y entonces estamos acá porque estamos haciendo ese trabajo sobre los farmacéuticos, las medicinas ilegales.
Nosotros decimos chorizas.
Chorizas, ¿verdad? Las llaman chorizas.
Si es chorizo, eso es que pues, no es original, ¿va? Es hechizo.
¿Y ustedes están involucrados en eso también?
Nosotros también hacemos el tráfico de los medicamentos, que eso es falso.
¿Son completamente falsas o alguna parte de los medicamentos son reales?
Falsas.
Todo falso, completamente falso.
Así es.
Dinero que pueden hacer con las drogas ilegales, ¿por qué se involucraran en ese negocio de medicinas falsas?
Y uno busca lo que más deja.
¿Y las medicinas te dejan con mucho?
Así es. El mercado está muy alto,
¿Está creciendo todavía?
está creciendo. Y nos dedicamos a hacer lo que crezca rápido. Metimos el medicamento, empezó obviamente con un porcentaje de 10 y ya subió ahorita a los 70, 80.
¡Wow! Entonces es un gran negocio ahorita
Así
ese.
es.
As the price for legitimate medicine goes up, the demand for cheaper alternatives grows. And so does La Union's operation.
¿O dónde se venden ¿Y todas las drogas se quedan aquí o se van al norte?
Nosotros vendemos ya por camionetas, trailers llenos de mercancía de esa, que es la que mandamos a otros estados.
¿Y ustedes envían también para los estados en la frontera?
Así es.
¿Para los americanos o qué?
Para todos. Aquí tenemos unos cuantos laboratorios y en otros estados también tenemos.
No, nosotros podemos filmar los laboratorios.
Eso le comentaba que no, porque eso sí ya no lo permiten los jefes, ¿verdad?
Señor T and Amarillo agreed to try and get me access to another part of their operation, but it's going to take time. So I follow the trail of their fake meds north to the US border.
Pharmacy, drugstore, dental clinic, doctor's office.
Algodones is a Mexican border town that caters to America's sick.
Everything is in English here, almost everything.
The town is home to more pharmacies, doctors, dentists, and opticians in a concentrated area than anywhere else in the world.
Oh, wow, and that's the border right here. So that's the United States.
Algodones is not alone either. At cities all along the border and in tourist hotspots like Cancun and Puerto Vallarta, Mexican pharmacies are booming.
Heart, diabetes, thyroid.
How many meds do you take a day?
Count now is 12.
12 different medications every single day.
Yeah.
Christine Schackinger is a 55-year-old tech worker from Las Vegas. The situation is one that many Americans know all too well.
And so you sit there every month. Can I pay this? Can I pay this? Can I pay this? Can I pay for the health insurance? Can I pay for my medications? And so you want to cry because if I don't take the meds and get the blood sugar down, I could wind up being one of those people that loses a limb. You know, everything I have would kill me if I didn't have the medications for it.
Yeah, that's them right there.
After exhausting other options, Christine has decided to follow the path of the medical tourists, heading south on the hunt for affordable medication. But what most Americans don't know is that the cartels could be stocking the shelves.
So, Christine, it's your first time down here.
It is my first time, yeah.
Christine Schackinger has come to Mexico in search of cheaper meds.
I wanted him to teach me how to do this, to navigate this process.
Christine's friend, Josh, has made this trip before.
How many people do you think you got medication or brought down here?
Oh, over the years, at least 20, 25 people.
Wow. I mean, it looks like an American pharmacy. Essentially, it sells all the American products, except it has a whole shelf of tequila and mezcal.
Thank you.
Hi, you got your meds?
I did.
So this lasts you a whole month?
That lasts me a month, yes. This is 4 months' worth.
In the US, Christine pays $585 for a month's supply of this drug, and that's with insurance. Here, she just bought her month's supply for $71.
In a way, it's sort of life-saving for you to have Mexico
definitely.
here.
Yeah, it means that I can get a medication I couldn't get in the United States.
I guess the risk is counterfeit medication and not knowing exactly what's in the medication.
And that's why I checked with Josh, because I was a little concerned that I could get like counterfeit medications, but he told me this pharmacy has been here forever. There's nothing sketchy about them. I'm sure there's maybe others at different places that could be.
I hope her meds are exactly what she thinks they are, produced by a legitimate pharmaceutical company. But there's a chance they're fake, manufactured by a cartel like La Union. And that's the thing. We just don't know.
We're doing a 2-location search warrant today. We're hitting both locations simultaneously. So approximately 2 weeks ago, we got intel that this little tiny mini mart is selling pharmaceuticals without a license, and it's a front for counterfeit pharmaceuticals.
How close are we?
30 seconds out. We're making an approach right now.
Sheriff's Department search warrant. Come out with your hands up.
2 weeks up. One more coming out.
Roger. So they've handcuffed 2 suspects that were inside.
Open door to the left. I'll bump up, I'll cover for you. We're gonna start searching.
The sheriff's department, they think they're hiding counterfeit medication.
Oh, look at this. There's a false bottom? Yeah. There's some false compartments in there. There's a huge box full of everything.
This is good stuff.
Today's raid turns up dozens of boxes of potentially counterfeit meds. And officers tell me that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Around the country, law enforcement has seen an uptick in the number of seizures by air, by land, and sea, as criminal operations attempt to smuggle fake meds into the country. At the LA Sheriff's Department headquarters, much of the basement is now a storeroom for seized counterfeit and illicit medicines.
So this whole box full of pharmaceuticals?
Yes.
Officer Brian Wong is a pharmacist who works as an expert in black market pharmaceuticals.
So if we look here, the label is showing you that it's amoxicillin and Ambroxol. So amoxicillin is your classic antibiotic, and Ambroxol is more if you're expecting to get like any phlegm out from cough. But our concern is whether or not there's actually active pharmaceutical ingredient in here to make sure that we're taking care of that infection.
And I'm assuming that even if there is no toxic ingredient in there, it is dangerous anyway, because that means that a person is not being treated as they should.
Correct.
And this is actually made in India? So
Yes.
yeah, so this is actually says here, it came from India,
Yeah.
and you guys got it here in the US.
Correct.
That's not as unusual as it may seem. For those Americans who aren't within reach of a Mexican border pharmacy, there's an even simpler way to buy meds without a prescription.
You get a lot of results.
There are currently around 40,000 online pharmacies operating worldwide, and the vast majority of them are illegal.
And this one says, a prescription is not required. So they're selling prescription drugs without a prescription. And then you could get a 10% discount if you use Bitcoin.
Ordering may be easy. Finding out where these pills are actually made is a bit trickier.
Let me see what this one is.
But buried deep on the FAQ page of one of the pharmacies, that same country pops up again.
And this one says the medications are manufactured in India by an Indian state-licensed company.
Both the legal and illegal side of India's pharmaceutical industry have exploded in the last few decades, earning it the nickname the world's pharmacy.
Oh, wow. You see this? I mean, both sides of this street, these are all little pharmacies, and there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of these little streets all over this neighborhood, and it's all basically pharmacies. And all of these boxes that you see are all full of meds, too, that they're distributing around to these pharmacies. It's truly incredible. I've never seen a place like this in my life.
35% of all counterfeit meds originate in India. I want to see how they're made and distributed here, in the biggest pharmaceutical black market in the world. Through a local contact, I connect with a man who says he's a distributor of fake meds. And apparently, he's willing to talk.
Alpha. You want me to call you Alpha, right?
Yes,
How long have you been in the pharmaceutical world?
20 years.
From what we've been told, Alpha is a distributor of fake medicine.
What is your role in this business?
I have my own pharmaceutical company.
The fake medication?
No, real pharmaceutical. नहीं मैं तो था ही नहीं फेक मेडिसिन के बिजनेस में. I am 100% genuine.
Okay.
100%. 100.
Okay.
1%.
Okay. But do you know people who are working in the informal markets?
No, I don't have any association with anyone.
We know Alpha's not telling the truth, because just an hour before this interview, he'd shown our local producer a video of a truck full of fake medication that he was looking to sell. So I try a different tack.
If I wanted to see some of the manufacturing, which area of India do you think I should go?
They have some small units in remote areas.
Here in Delhi, or is it in other parts of India?
Not in Delhi. Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand,
Up north.
up north. 7,000, 8,000 factories.
Little factories.
Just one place.
So we have come all the way from the United States to meet people who are involved in the counterfeit business. Do you know anyone that you could put us in touch with?
Many.
No.
No.
Alpha's getting more and more nervous.
So, बंद कर दो. सब देख रहे हैं.
He thinks it's people over there listening. The guy left already. So, can you tell me how you know so much about this counterfeit medication world?
Stop.
I think he just got cold feet and got nervous. The cameras, you know, the fact that we're on a rooftop and there's possibly people looking or listening. So now we have our local producers there talking to him, trying to understand what's the matter and why did he change his mind. It's incredibly frustrating. Oh, he's here. So, you're okay? Okay. So I think you're willing to talk to us. You can look to me.
If you want to make some people, I can arrange for you.
So you can arrange for me some connections.
Yes.
So you know a little bit about the business. You know people.
No, I know people. They are making medicines.
Okay. So you're not in the business.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Again, frustrating, but small steps. We're just arriving in this town at the foot of the Himalayas. We've actually been asked not to say the name of the town. And we're driving more and more in sort of to these remote areas of this region.
Alpha has texted me a time and a location where I'm to wait for a call from an illegal pill manufacturer. He's calling Amir. As night falls, the paved roads give way to narrow cobbled lanes. And then Amir arrives. He's on edge and asks us to keep the cameras off. He doesn't want anyone from our crew to know exactly where his place is. So he insists we go with him in his van. And finally, after a long, disorienting drive...
Rolling? Yeah, all good?
He tells us to follow him to the back of an old, rundown building.
Wow, this is the machine, huh?
Yes, yes.
Can I see? How many pills do you make in one night?
This material.
25,000 pills.
Yes.
Wow. So what is this?
This powder होता है antibiotic होता है.
What is the name of the pill?
Amoxicillin.
Oh, it's amoxicillin. That's an antibiotic that you have to be prescribed. We travel with amoxicillin.
Amoxicillin is an antibiotic used to treat a number of common bacterial infections, like strep throat, pneumonia, and ear infections.
Can I take a pill to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
It's really powdery. And is it actually amoxicillin? Does it have the active ingredients?
No.
No?
No.
So you say it's amoxicillin, but what's the powder? What is actually in it?
Calcium.
This is calcium?
Yes.
But you're selling it off as if it's an antibiotic. Is it easy to buy? You can buy the powder?
हाँ कैल्शियम कहीं मिल सकता है.
And can you make the color? Can you make whatever color you want?
उसका कलर चेंज कर दिया जाता है. जैसे कलर चॉकलेट होता है वैसा कलर डाला जाता है.
Is it just dye or what's the color made?
Food
coloring. Oh, wow. So you use food coloring and you can make any pill look whatever color you want and then sell it as if it's the real thing. Wow, that is crazy. You know, there's a lot of people that have been harmed. There's even people who have died because of fake medication. Do you feel bad?
हाँ फील होता है अपने.
Do you ever think maybe you should stop doing it?
नहीं करना चाहिए.
Why did you start doing this? Were you working in a legal manufacturing facility?
मैं किसी फैक्ट्री में जॉब करता था.
So you used to work in a factory and then you learned how to make pills. Do you make more money now than you did when you were working in the factory?
हाँ जी.
Do you sell it to a pharmacy or a distributor?
कई बार डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर भी लेकर के जाते हैं. कई बार जो थोड़ा जान से पहचान हो वो भी ले जाते हैं.
Are they staying here in India or are they going abroad to other countries?
नहीं इसके बारे में मुझे नहीं.
Do you think that these could end up in America?
हाँ जा भी सकती हैं. जा भी सकती, बाहर भी जा सकती.
With no oversight or testing, rogue manufacturers like Amir can put whatever they want into their products on sloppy and unsanitary production lines. Fake medicines have been found to contain everything from mercury and cement to arsenic and rat poison. And that can have devastating consequences.
4 Indian-made cough and cold medicines could be linked to the deaths of 66 children in the Gambia.
Only days after we returned to the US, news breaks that contaminated Indian cough syrup is behind an outbreak of pediatric kidney failure, leading to the death of 70 children.
Basically, stuff that's in antifreeze and air conditioning are in these medicines and they should never be.
Scientists estimate that over 250,000 children die each year from malaria and pneumonia left untreated by fake or substandard drugs. I've seen how it can happen in India, and I've just gotten the invite to go inside a lab of a Mexican cartel. I'm back in Mexico City to meet up with the cartel, La Unión. They're finally ready to give us more access to their operation.
¿Qué medicamentos estás haciendo ahorita?
Antibiótico. La gente se encarga de conseguir los frascos y las cajas vacías. ¿Para qué? Para que uno los pueda rellenar y ya llenar el producto.
Y cuando tú dices la gente es parte del cartel,
Muchas veces, mientras menos uno sepas, mejor.
La Unión has granted me a meeting with Dr. Loco, one of the cartel's chemists, who also runs his own legal medical practice here in Mexico City.
Naproxen, paracetamol, trimethoprim con sulfometazol.
He rattles off a list of drugs he produces, including antibiotics, painkillers, and some very popular brand-name pharmaceuticals.
Sí, la famosa Viagra.
¿Medicinas verdaderas o falsas?
No tenemos, aquí en este lugar no contamos con las sustancias químicas, como los antibióticos o analgésicos. Entonces se preparan con un tipo de placebo para que no dañe a la persona. Este es un placebo. Esto se llama azúcar candy.
Azúcar candy. ¿Y es verdad que es azúcar mismo?
Sí, sí, sí.
Azúcar normal.
Azúcar normal. Este es almidón.
Starch. Ah, starch, wow.
Que sirve para darle volumen.
No me hace mal, pero
Nada.
también no me hace bien.
Porque no te va a curar de nada, porque no estás tomando ningún tipo de medicamento. A final de cuentas, nada más es un engaño, un bluff, ¿no? ¿Qué es lo que provoca esto de que vuelvan a tener que ir a consulta, que les vuelvan a dar más medicamento y que vuelvan a gastar más dinero? Y es una forma de lucrar, ¿no?
Como doctor, tú hiciste el Hippocratic Oath,
Sí, el juramento hipocrático.
pero estás haciendo una cosa que no es buena para las personas. ¿Qué piensas tú de eso?
O sea, yo lo pensé de esta forma. Es preferible hacerlo sin hacer daño. He conocido personas que hacen y meten otro tipo de medicamentos para rellenar y pueden dañar a la gente. Lo menos así sé que no les va a hacer daño. Trato de pensar que aunque sea que no estoy haciendo, que lo estoy haciendo mal, no les estoy haciendo más daño, ¿no?
Dr. Loco tells me that every day in labs and factories all over Mexico, fake pills like these are being made by the thousands. He provides quality control, making sure that every pill and package looks exactly like the real deal.
Wow. It actually has the little cotton inside to make it look really real.
Aparte lleva su
No, ¿verdad?
eso es para la humedad, ¿no?
The attention to detail makes me think again about Christine and whether she's actually getting what she needs.
Porque hay consumidores en toda la República, ¿no? Con parte de todo el mundo, ¿no? Y compran ese tipo de medicamentos sin saber de dónde es su procedencia. Y de ahí es cuando está el truco, ¿no?
One part of the business that I'm still unclear about is how these counterfeit meds make it to market. How and where are they sold? So the cartel has told me to wait here, at the Santa Muerte Shrine. Santa Muerte, or the Saint of Death, is a popular figure in Mexico, worshipped by many in the world of drug trafficking and crime.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien? ¿Entro?
It's a fitting spot to meet, since I'm heading out on a sales call with a hitman.
Que tienes una moto frente y una atrás para protección.
Para protección mía y protección de Horacio Pérez.
I'm riding shotgun with Amarillo, one of the members of La Unión that I met on my previous trip.
Oh, wow, te está parando el tráfico y todo. Wow, he's even stopping the traffic for us. Entonces, ¿a dónde vamos?
Vamos a una farmacia.
Ok, es tu micrófono. ¿Puedes hablar?
1, 2, 3,
Ok,
4.
escucho. Ok.
Amarillo doesn't want our cameras following him, but he's agreed to keep his microphone on so I can listen in.
Okay, so yeah, I can see the pharmacy, and we're not allowed to film it, but it's a corner pharmacy. Okay, he's inside. Just walked inside. There's a couple of other people inside.
Hola, señora.
Hola, señora.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes. Vengo para traerte medicamento que nosotros elaboramos. De lo contrario, si no se te va a hacer, ahora sí que se te va a quemar el local.
Holy
Pues tienes una semana para darnos el dinero. Y pues quieras o no lo vas a hacer. Sí, está bien. Al rato te mando las cosas.
Again, he's coming back. Te escuché, te dice, te parecía muy preocupada, ¿no? ¿O nerviosa?
Sí.
Y así siempre es. Te dicen generalmente que sí.
La mayor tiempo dicen que sí porque ya saben cómo va.
Okay.
So this is how La Unión distributes their fake meds. They force pharmacies to carry them.
Tú dijiste que si no hacen lo que dices tú...
Se le quema el negocio.
¿Es verdad? ¿Lo hacen eso?
Sí.
¿Ya lo hiciste tú?
Muchas veces.
¿Verdad? Y dime una cosa, ¿tú no te sientes saber que tú vives aquí también en esas colonias, ¿no? Estás dañando a las personas de tu barrio, de tu ciudad, de tu país? Personas de tu barrio, tal vez tu familia también que viene aquí, que compra medicamentos falsos. ¿Eso no te preocupa?
A mí lo que me preocupa es ahora sí que pues hacer dinero. Uno como siempre andan en estas cosas, pues uno no tiene sentimientos.
Y tú me dijiste antes que tu grupo que hace eso no solo aquí en la Ciudad de México, pero también en toda la parte de México. ¿En la frontera también lo hace?
Así es.
Tipo que para Tijuana, en Mexicali.
Pues toda la frontera, más que nada, así que toda la frontera para que...
¿Por qué es importante para ustedes tener presencia en la frontera?
Pues porque cada vez nos expandemos más y el mercado se hace más grande.
Desperate patients, ruthless suppliers. I could feel a perfect storm brewing.
A new investigation by the LA Times has found that pharmacies in several Mexican cities are selling counterfeit prescription pills containing fentanyl and methamphetamine.
This news story broke just a few weeks after we returned from Mexico.
71% of 17 pills it tested came back positive for illegal drugs.
After all I've seen on this journey, the news is hardly surprising. The cartels are doing what they do best, making easy, ugly money. And with fake prescription drugs, much of their product doesn't even have to cross the border, because American patients are so desperate, they are often willing to come to Mexico. Do I think the cartels are greedy and ruthless for putting the lives of vulnerable patients at risk? You bet. But we also need to look in the mirror and ask some tough questions about what's happening right here at home. That's why I've traveled to the nation's capital, to confront an industry that often seems more concerned with profits than patients.
When you are purchasing a counterfeit medicine, you're playing Russian roulette. It could be paint thinner, it could be antifreeze, it could be rat poison, it could be fentanyl, which, as we all know at this point, is deadly. You just never know.
I'm in Washington, D.C. to meet with Ann Pritchett, Senior Vice President of Policy and Research at the trade group Pharma. Pharma represents the nation's leading pharmaceutical companies, most of which have seen their products counterfeited by criminal organizations.
It is 10 times more profitable to be selling counterfeit medicines than it is to be trafficking in heroin.
The group's members work with law enforcement agencies across the country to keep fake meds out of the hands of Americans. But there's a certain irony here. The fact that Big Pharma plays a major role in making medications unaffordable is actually helping to create this black market.
Washington is talking about price setting some medicines, but it won't stop insurers from shifting costs to you.
In 2022 alone, pharma spent $29.2 million, more than any other lobbying group, much of it to combat the Inflation Reduction Act and the effort to set limits on drug prices.
What we've heard again and again from Americans that we've spoken to is the reason why we're risking our lives and going to places like Mexico and India is because we cannot afford the medication in the United States. Why is it that Americans are paying more for their meds than anyone else in the world?
I think it's just comparing apples and oranges, and do think that, you know, in America, we feel that patient choice and prescriber choice is very important, and that patients should have access to the best innovation that there is. The U.S. is a world leader in biopharmaceutical R&D. It's a system that's worked, we think.
Have you spent time talking to some of these Americans that can't afford their medication?
Not
I'm
me
not
personally, no.
I'm not being smart. I'm actually interested because I've spent time talking to some of them, and it's really heartbreaking stories. And I understand that it's profit-driven industry, but I do, therefore, think it's a conflict of interest, and there should be somebody advocating for Americans, and that doesn't seem to be the case right now.
I wouldn't call it a conflict of interest when we're making life-saving medicines available.
But if it's not affordable, the medication isn't doing it.
Again, I do think, though, this is why we have an insurance system that isn't working when the insurance industry continues to increase co-insurance and out-of-pocket costs for patients while they continue to pocket substantial rebates and discounts. So I think to just say it's industry's fault for having high list prices isn't a valid argument.
I'm not saying it's just an industry. I think the system is broken, and I think it has worked in other countries, limiting the price of drugs by having the government interfere.
And limiting the availability of drugs and limiting access to medicines. And that's not what Americans want.
And what I go back to is that the medication only works if people can afford it.
Pharma is quick to blame insurance companies, middlemen, and politicians for America's failing healthcare system. But the argument that their record profits are used to fund research and development doesn't line up with the latest numbers. In 2021, 7 of the 10 biggest pharmaceutical companies spent 37% more on sales and marketing than they did on research and development. And 10 companies made $102 billion in profits that same year, a 137% increase from 2020.
The American healthcare system is built to benefit the corporations and industries that have grown up to make money in the healthcare system. I think that there is a moral sense that the amount that pharmaceutical companies are starting to charge is unconscionable.
Josh, what do you think of America's healthcare system?
I think it's broken. When, you know, the richest country in the world, its citizens can't afford the medications that they need and have to come down to what a lot of Americans consider a very poor country to be able to actually get their medications.
Right.
I didn't do anything to get all these illnesses. All these are genetic. Most started in my teens and 20s. So, you know, we got to stop blaming people, and we have to stop treating it like it's on them, because the system has made it so hard to get healthy and stay well.
As long as America prioritizes the profits of big pharma over the well-being of our citizens, we're complicit in filling the pockets of the cartels and black market operators who are getting rich off of our broken system. Since the first Model Ts began rolling off the assembly line, Americans have fallen deeply in love with cars. They're as personal as clothes or tattoos, part of the stories we tell about ourselves. Hollywood knows how we feel about them, whether they're taking us on an adventure, or on a vacation, or even to the future. We talk to them.
You all right? I can't take another blow like that.
We give them names. We race them.
Let's go for a little ride.
We wreck them. But mostly, we adore them.
Where's your guard, dude?
Which is why I just had to do a story about people who steal them. On average, every 36 seconds, a car is stolen here in the United States. It's big money. And it's often done by somebody just like this.
Oh my God. What if the people come out? Oh my God, that took like less than 5 seconds. Okay, this is it. Watch out, watch out. Oh my God, this is insane. How many cars do you think are here tonight?
Usually we'll get 5,000 or more cars coming.
Seriously?
100%.
I mean, like gathering of so many cars, the donuts. None of that is legal, right?
Yeah, I don't know. No comment.
No comment.
No comment.
How many cars here do you think are stolen?
Thousands.
I've reported on a lot of illegal activities, but I've never done a story about stolen cars. I was tipped off, however, that these late-night meetups would be a good place to start digging. Like most of these folks, I followed a trail of social media posts to this location in New York City. It was announced last minute so that the police wouldn't be able to shut it down. This underground car culture is the real-life version of the Fast and the Furious.
Now we got cars flying in the air.
The popularity of these events has exploded with the success of the franchise. But not all attendees can afford a fancy car. So these meetups have become a popular playground for joyriders.
So do you guys know anyone who steals cars?
No.
Nope.
No, I don't personally know anyone, no.
If you did, would you tell me?
No, probably not.
After decades of decline in the US, auto theft spiked in 2020 to the tune of nearly 900,000 cars.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever stolen a car?
So, yeah, my first car I stole was when I was 16.
I wind up talking to a guy we're calling Anthony.
How easy is it to steal a car?
It's easy, it's quick, in and out. I'm a tow truck driver, so a lot of people ask me to go buy these cars and they pay me lots of money.
I learned that the old tow and go is one of several unsophisticated yet popular ways to steal a car. If you're a car thief, sometimes you've got the right tools.
A dark-colored tow truck backs up to a house and steals this car while the owner slept.
Sometimes you need a gun.
My life flashed before my eyes. I literally was like, this is it.
And sometimes your targets are just not careful enough.
This is surveillance video of a car left warming up that was stolen last week.
About half of stolen cars in the United States end up back in the hands of their rightful owners. That leaves over $4 billion worth of unrecovered cars that wind up everywhere, from used car lots to chop shops.
We gotta move, we gotta move.
So the police is coming, so you hear everybody's running.
Yo, we out.
And you see everybody running to their cars and leaving? Look, this guy. Oh, wow.
Yeah, now they got cops blocking the street.
How old are you now?
I'm 20 now.
How much money have you made from the cars you've stolen so far?
Say like a little under 60,000. It's
stripping them down, mainly for parts, all sold on the East Coast. And that's not doing it often.
Anthony tells me that it's harder for the cops to trace the parts of a stolen car. But the thieves who make the big money must take a bigger risk, selling the whole car intact.
And there's people making hundreds of thousands on nice cars, nice cars. You could sell them as a whole car because maybe they're not going to trace the VIN in some third world country.
It turns out there's an underground supply chain of stolen cars exported overseas. That's one of the most lucrative smuggling routes in the game. So how exactly does a 2-ton object packed with anti-theft technology completely disappear? Where does it end up? And who's pulling the strings on such a complicated operation? That's exactly what I want to find out.
Okay, so this is it. About 2 minutes from the Newark airport. I actually think I've stayed at this hotel before.
I learned that one hub for these international car theft rings is based just a few miles down the road, in Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, this is it. Yeah, definitely. This is it.
For a long time, the city was known as the stolen car capital of the world.
Hi, Mariana. Number one, I heard?
Yeah.
How you want to be called?
Yeah, number one.
For years, Number One was part of an operation known for moving millions of dollars worth of luxury vehicles overseas.
We ran a few cars by you, and you said this is one that you used to regularly. You've stolen. How many of these particular cars do you think you stole?
I can't even count. It's maybe thousands.
Wait, thousands just of this make and model?
Yep.
Was this one of your favorites?
None of them is my favorite. Money is my favorite.
Eventually, his luck ran out. Over the course of a 2-year investigation called Operation Jacked, authorities seized hundreds of cars valued at over $12 million and convicted more than 50 car ring members, including Number One. When I heard that he'd been released from prison, I managed to track him down. He was reluctant to talk on camera at first, because he told me he's out of the game. But eventually he agreed to show us a few of his old tricks.
Yeah. What did Jack? It's in the front, the rearview mirror. So it's in the front by the rearview mirror. Okay. And then I gotta go in the back. Where is the back? At the top. All right, I see it. All right, love you, bro.
Who is it?
He's one of the best at top.
At doing this? At stealing cars?
Yeah.
What were you doing? What was your...
I disabled the tracking device. It's like OnStar. It keeps them from being able to find the car.
Of course, we don't want to advertise too much, but there's something over there in the rearview mirror, and then there's something in the back, and that disables the GPS.
Yeah.
And every car has...
Not every car. Well, the majority of cars have a tracking device, and they're in different places.
So when you called him right now, all you said was the model and the make of the car, and he immediately knew...
He knows where everything at.
Does he think that you're actually trying to steal a car?
Yeah.
Did he say anything? No.
No. It just was automatic, gave me the information I needed, because it could have been critical. You have no time to waste. Yo, where you at? What you got? None of your business. I need your help.
Number One insists that cops have only cracked the tip of the iceberg. The big players are still very much in the game.
The car business is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year business. Do you think that people will want their money to stop?
I ask if he's able to connect me to any active players, but he tells me it's too risky.
People want to kill you by asking questions. I wish you luck.
Unfortunately, in my experience, luck doesn't open many doors. I need to find someone who trusts me enough to show me how this racket really works.
Mariana.
Hey, we're a couple blocks away, like a minute away.
All right, let's go. I'm on my way too.
Okay, bye.
I decide to tap an old connection from the drug trafficking underworld. He tells me that when his dealers head out for a job, they'll rent a stolen car for a couple hours from a crew of car thieves. He's managed to set up a meeting with one he calls fittingly, klepto.
How many times you do this? You always get a little nervous. Good, how are you?
Good. Worst thing we can do right now is we can take you to go look around for the 2 cars that they're asking for on the list.
Okay, what cars are those?
Right now we're looking into a Mercedes and a Nissan.
We gotta be careful because this time people come out, sometimes shooting at us.
Yeah, you see them? Oh, the trash cans are right there. Oh, he's actually taking out the trash can from the front of the car so he can move the car. Okay, he's doing it. He's doing it right now. Look, look, look. He's doing it. Oh my God, did you see that? Okay, he's doing it. He's doing it right now. Look, look, look. Oh my God, did you see that? Oh my, that took like less than 5 seconds. What did he do? He did something to the handle, and then it made a noise and it opened. Did you see this? He just put the window down and went like this and waved. That was crazy. Oh my God, I'm like totally discombobulated. I don't know what. Oh my God. And now they're going super fast and I'm supposed to keep up with them. And yeah, now we're just driving behind a stolen car. And they're parking right here. So that was insane. Gone in 60 seconds. In your case, it was gone in 5 seconds.
Exactly, that's a lie.
But I saw you had a little trouble with the handle.
Our keys don't open car locks.
How did you open the lock then?
Can't really tell you that little secret.
Okay, and then once you're inside, the ignition starts.
Yes, it's a program key.
Mm-hmm.
You can program the key to any damn car.
Since most modern cars are glorified computers on wheels, all that dealerships and locksmiths need to program a Virgin key fob is the car's VIN number. And all car thieves need is a savvy but corrupt mechanic. And so you did your first one. I know you're in a bit of a rush now to go do your second. What's the second car?
It's a Mercedes.
So it's a Mercedes. You know it's somewhere in this neighborhood.
Yes.
What is this neighborhood like?
It's a lot of white people, man. And you're talking about multi-million-dollar homes here. It's okay, you know, they cheat a lot of people. So everybody cheats people, rich people cheat people. Why not? Let's cheat. So
does it ever cross your mind? How are they going to feel when they wake up in the morning and they don't see their cars?
they ain't gonna suffer. They're not gonna lose anything but a damn car. That ain't nothing. Still leave money for the bank. Insurance covers your money.
But insurance claims go up for everybody. We all actually, at the end of the day, end up paying for cars being
Oh, of course, of course. It doesn't make me a bad guy.
Every time he was putting the gun on me, I was like, no, please, don't, please. And because he was like, boom like that. He was just hitting me with the gun. It was horrible.
So tell me, what's the crew?
I got my spotter that jumps out and takes care of my corner. Any cop that's coming in, whatever, I already know the whistle he makes. I got my person that drives me right here. He's in a tinted up truck. He parks away from me. And then, of course, I got my other little buddy over there who parks a little bit further, just, you know.
To keep an eye out?
Oh, of course. He signals him. That guy signals him. I got to have at least 2 blocks covered, girl, because no. I'm not trying to go to jail again.
And you were shot at before?
Oh, plenty of times.
Oh, my God. What if the people come out? This makes me so nervous. Oh, my God. I feel so bad for whoever car this is. That was insane. And I've seen a lot of crazy. What starts to come into focus as I'm talking to Klepto is the organizational structure of these international operations. Crews of thieves, like Kleptos, are the bottom of the pyramid. Once they steal a car, I'm told they want to get rid of it as soon as possible. But how? And to whom? That's what I'm itching to uncover. The next levels of the pyramid.
You dropped off the cars today at the parking lot. What
Yes.
happens to those cars?
Well, right now the guys are gonna go clean them up, and then they're gonna go take
What do you
them
mean
to-
by clean them up?
That's my expertise.
After years of success running a crew of thieves, Klepto's career in stolen cars has actually progressed. He's now also working in a position that's known as a fence.
How did you learn how to do that?
Since I was a little kid working at body shops, family members, stealing other cars, you learn trick of the trade.
The fence is the key middleman in the operation. It's his job to handle the logistics of laundering a stolen car, to disguise the fact that it's stolen.
And then what happens after that?
The LoJacks, so they won't track them.
The GPS?
Yes.
So you have somebody who knows how to do that?
Yes.
The GPS, remove it. And then what happens after that?
We change the numbers.
The VIN numbers. You
Yes.
have another person who knows how to change VIN numbers.
Yeah.
The vehicle identification number, or VIN, is a unique lifetime ID born from the moment a car rolls out of the factory. Klepto doesn't reveal how they change the VINs, but once a new VIN number is installed, they'll forge new title and registration documents to match.
And how much do you get paid per car?
So it depends on the car. Like this Mercedes,
So the Mercedes for tonight?
about 30,000.
30,000.
Yeah.
At each step in the process, Klepto pays off the players involved.
The key cost me
$4,000 for the key.
Yeah.
$3,000 to each of the thieves, $2,000 to the VIN forger, $1,000 to the wheelman who disables the GPS.
So it's that profitable that you can still make money while paying all these people?
Yes, I can.
Meaning for a car like the Mercedes, after paying off the crew, he'll bank around $12,000.
It's sold to the buyer that's asking for it. They send it into the container. You never see it again.
The car transfers hands to the final player on the US side of the network, the shipper.
You can't just put this in your luggage and sneak it to another country.
I meet back up with number one, who I know has experience at this level of the operation. Over the years, he says he's made these drops many, many times.
I don't know the exact count, but over a couple thousand.
Where were the containers going?
Different countries.
Do you know where exactly?
No, because it was never my part of the business.
Number one agrees to drive me to the location where he'd rendezvous with the shippers, but warns me that this handoff is still the most dangerous in the process.
Right here where this car is parked in front of that gate.
Yeah.
That's where we used to pull up, drive in there, put the car in the containers, and then leave, yeah.
So the containers would be here, waiting?
They said 10 o'clock at night, then we'd meet them there at 10 o'clock at night. Any one of these trucks could be in the process of doing that right now.
Oh my God.
We have no way of knowing if thieves will be packing these containers with stolen cars tonight. But if they are, it's definitely not safe to stick around.
See, that car's still here. Dangerous like that because we don't know exactly what they doing.
Right. And if they see us around here with cameras.
Exactly. You don't ask questions when somebody's standing there with M16s, AK-47s.
They were armed, the people running the business? Weren't you scared?
The first time I did it, yeah.
I press number one about who are the kingpins of these car rings, but he either doesn't know or won't say. So I do what any good journalist does. I follow the money to the port in Newark, where there's one final hurdle standing in the smuggler's way.
Oh, that's a nice one. Oh,
Wow,
there's
that's
it. There it
crazy.
is.
Oh.
That's a nice one. That's a beautiful Jeep right there.
Wow.
Pop the other door.
Wow. So is this possibly a stolen car?
Yes, possibly.
Good chance?
Absolute
it's a stolen
chance. A
vehicle?
very good chance.
A very good chance?
Two in there.
Two?
See, Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, there it is.
So there's a Mercedes-Benz in front. There's a Jeep here.
Brand new 350.
Wow, brand new. They're both brand new cars.
So here we have a couple of ships.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection's main focus is to intercept contraband coming into the United States, not heading outbound.
It's just row after row after row here.
Thousands of containers. This is the largest port on the East Coast.
They estimate that they're only able to inspect a small fraction of cars leaving the United States.
So that's a VIN number?
This is the VIN number right here on the dash.
Which is good news for the car theft rings I've been investigating.
What's coming up as a positive?
Positive what?
We got
Stolen?
a positive stolen, yeah.
So it's immediate. You can tell.
Right away.
If you look inside, you still see there's a cell phone charger inside, so you can see some of still the personal belongings of the person whose vehicle this belonged to.
Right out the driveway.
Right out the driveway, yeah. So does a car like this, now that you found that it's stolen and you know eventually who the owner was, does it go back to the owner or what happens?
Well, the insurance had already made the payout, so this usually goes back to the insurance company.
Kind of feel bad for the owner of the car who
this.
stolen, yeah, and the fact that we're all standing on top of his car right now.
Once a vessel departs for international waters, the cars that slip through have a much, much slimmer chance for recovery.
This was all the same container, 4 cars, ending with this, the Escalade. They have it packed with personal effects. There could be guns in here. There could be all sorts of different contraband. These 3 cars were in one container. If you look, you got 2 of them are salvage cars. They're smashed up. And then we had this here, 2021 Land Rover. Right there, it's a flag for me.
Why?
Something, it's out of place. You're gonna put a 2021 Land Rover in with 2 wrecks where it might get damaged.
How many cars are exported from here every year?
Approximately 400,000 cars a year. That's 30,000 cars a month.
Oh, you go through all of them, or how does that work?
It's impossible to go through all of them. What was found last year was 310 stolen cars out of this port. I would like to think that's all of them, 310, but that's not true. It's really like finding a needle in a haystack.
So who's actually making money with all this?
Well, everybody involved is making money. Who's making the most? My guess is it's overseas.
It hadn't actually occurred to me before that the real moneymakers of this operation aren't here in the US. If there's truly that much money to be made overseas, it begs the question, who's atop this pyramid? And will I be able to find them?
How soon after a car is stolen does it end up in a container like this?
If somebody's stealing it, let's call it New York, put it in a container the next couple hours, it's on terminal, ready to be departed.
Could be that fast.
It
like
could
the
be that
same day,
fast.
next day kind of thing.
Could be that day. They steal them from outside, have them trucked into Jersey, put them in a container here. And out they go to a number of different destinations.
One of the most popular destinations for stolen cars shipped from the East Coast is 5,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean in West Africa. In a developing nation, owning a car can be synonymous with entry into the middle class. Nowhere is that more evident than Ghana, home to one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. Walk around the capital, Accra, and you'll feel the energy. Opportunity is in the air.
The growing economy, what does it mean that now people are making some amount of money? They would want to have a better life. And there's no way people want to have a better life without owning cars.
So it's a huge industry here in Ghana.
Yes. I mean, we're a developing country. Everybody wants to drive a car. People get out of university, the next thing they're thinking about is a car.
Peter, as we'll call him, is a local investigative journalist who tells me that rising incomes have opened the door to new black markets, like stolen cars.
What would happen if people found out you were helping us out?
That will mean that somebody puts in an end to your life.
Is it that dangerous?
It's very dangerous. First of all, you're dealing with a society where people don't even accept the fact that the activity should be investigated in the first place.
So you think actually that a lot of the people that buy these cars don't know that they're stolen cars?
A lot of people don't know.
But some do.
Some do. But people who know don't care. Because at the end of the day, it's like, do we manufacture cars? No. So it's not as if the action is killing any local industry.
The vast majority of cars in Ghana are imported. In fact, they're the #1 imported item in the country.
People want to have more exotic lives. If you meet an old school mate,
right,
they're able to charge you by the car you drive. So everybody wants to drive a good car, whether they're cheap or,
stolen.
Stolen. And that's why black market industry as far as cars is booming here.
So can you tell me more or less how the process works? So the cars arrive.
So you find the people, they are getting it from these fraud boys.
What are they called?
Fraud boys.
The guys involved in this car business, they're called the fraud boys?
Fraud boys, yes.
And everybody knows about them? Is it well known?
Everybody knows about them.
And is it all sort of the same syndicate then?
No, so it depends on the sort of clique you belong to.
Peter says he can connect me to a contact who's inside their tight-knit circles. But it's unclear what role this person plays.
There's a guy who's somehow involved in this car business who's agreed to talk to us. So we're driving to what might be his house or his business, I'm not sure. The sun is actually going down really fast. It's gonna get dark soon. We don't want to get stuck in these unknown roads in the middle of the night.
Well, that didn't happen.
Okay, I'll go out first.
Little did I know that I had just stepped inside the nerve center of the entire operation. I learned that there are criminal groups behind the stolen car game here in Ghana. They're known as fraud boys. I wanted to meet them face to face and find out who's pulling the strings.
And if you can put your mask up again, sorry. So how do you want to be called?
Yes, Shadow Walker.
Shadow Walker?
Yes.
Is that your online name?
Yeah, that's my online name, in the dark web.
In an apartment on the outskirts of Accra, I connect with one of these infamous fraud boys.
What is it exactly that you do?
What I do actually is hacking. We can mimic you, we can get access to your bank account, credit card information.
And what I found was the heart of the entire operation.
So you go to the dark web,
Okay.
and dark web is not a place that you can go there with your normal browser. Everything is also anonymous.
Using an anonymous browser called Tor, he accesses the dark web and logs into underground hacker forums where almost any product is listed for sale.
Oh, cocaine? Colombian cocaine, nonetheless.
Yes, of course. You
Crack.
can buy guns, everything here. This is a credit card information that they are selling.
Oh, somebody's selling this?
They are selling.
If you've ever received an email from your favorite retailer apologizing for a huge data breach,
A massive cyber attack affecting nearly 50 million.
More than
Facebook
100 million Capital One credit cards.
it's possible that your identity and credit card information is being sold at an underground hacker forum just like this.
There are tons of these for sale?
Of course, yeah. And look at the amount that the person is selling it.
For $15?
Yes, for $15.
What?
Yeah.
For a pittance paid anonymously in cryptocurrency, criminals can buy your credit card info and load it onto a fresh card.
And then what do you do with all that information?
We have within the group somebody to give him credit card information who takes care of it.
In the US?
Yes.
With a stolen credit card and a fake ID, These guys can walk into any car rental location and drive off with a car that will wind up 5,000 miles away on the streets of Accra. No broken windows, no fake key fobs, no carjacking. Clean and efficient. It's right about now that I truly grasp who I'm standing next to. He isn't some entry-level page, but rather a technological wizard who binds the whole operation together. And he has one more trick up his sleeve.
So this is a car, let's say, coming from New York to Ghana.
Yes, they need to pay their dues.
The import fee.
Yes, the amount of money is so huge. They can pay that.
Import duties can cost up to 20% of the market value of a car. So a brand new Range Rover valued at 100,000 would be taxed 20 grand.
So it's my duty now to attack the Tama Harbor.
So you can hack into the customs service at the harbor.
Yeah, we make it seem as if you've paid everything.
I'm blown away by their methods. In addition to their American contacts who steal cars the old-fashioned way, these sophisticated Ghanaian operators have found other, more ingenious ways to swipe our beloved rides. It all points to the kingpin at the top of the pyramid, and I want to meet whoever that is face to face.
Do you know anyone who's involved in other parts of the car business?
All of the guys that I know, nobody will give you his contact.
I keep pushing, and after some persistence, a contact finally leads me to the breakthrough I've been searching for, a meeting with a mastermind.
We're actually very close to the location. Seems like it's a really nice neighborhood here, right? It's a bunch of big houses.
This is one of the posh areas in Ghana.
Okay. Is this somebody we should trust?
Matters like this, not really.
Hi. Thank you for meeting us. What is this? What car is this?
This is a Mercedes-Benz C250.
It's a nice car. And it's stolen?
Yeah, this came from the States.
Do you know where in the States?
I have no idea when the state where it's coming from.
Like many of these underworld first dates, the vibe is tense, suspicious. He has to be called Ivan, and I can sense that he's sizing me up.
When did this arrive in Ghana?
2-3 months ago.
2-3 months ago. And do you have people interested already?
This happens to be in a garage, so...
Oh, so this is in a car dealership, what we
Yeah,
call in the
this
US,
is
in
a
a
car
garage.
dealership.
So it's one of several there.
But this is what I have available at the moment.
Can I go inside?
Yeah, sure. Be my guest.
It's so crazy to think that just a couple of months ago, this car was in the US, belonging to somebody else. What other cars came in the same sort of shipment as this one?
It comes in a consignment of like 3, 4, 5, 6.
The mood starts to relax. I feel like he's warming up to me. He tells me that his group is one of the bigger operations in Accra, and that they buy stolen cars in bulk shipments.
How much did you pay for this one?
This one?
Yeah.
You pay what you can pay for a car.
I know, but how much? I just want to get a sense of
So, I don't have an answer to that.
But ultimately, he plays coy. In spite of my efforts to get more information from him, he ends up refusing to answer most of my questions.
How do I open this?
So I decide to poke around and see if I can learn anything more about this mystery car.
Oh, and this is because the GPS has been cut out?
I guess maybe there might be a reason why they took it off.
Wow, so check this out. This is tampered with. What's in here? Is this the Red Lobster? Do you have Red Lobster here?
No.
Oh my God, Virginia.
Let me see. Let me have a look.
I will. So we're close to knowing that at least the person was in Virginia.
I have no idea.
You try to hide that as soon as possible. He doesn't want to really show that. I won't say the city in Virginia. There was also a city in Virginia. I didn't say that.
Just a minute. I don't know.
Maybe it's somebody who wants to buy this car.
Okay. Definitely should be a buyer so I can make a quick money.
And he's driving off.
He left before I could get what I wanted, a confession. A tell-all interview about the whole stolen car operation from one of the big players.
The stolen Mercedes-Benz that got here just a few months ago from the US.
I'm dying to know more about this car's history. Who owned it? Do they miss it? And do they have any idea where their car is now? Back in America, I get some answers about this mystery car from Detective Paula Brunetto with the Connecticut State Police. She's been investigating car theft rings for decades.
Yeah, I looked at the VIN, and so it's from a 2014 Mercedes-Benz that was involved in a serious crash, which caused it to be a total loss. No one's going to drive this car. You're telling me that you saw this car in Africa being driven, and it was not smashed up, right?
No, it was a beautiful Mercedes-Benz.
Okay. So the car you saw was probably stolen
with a VIN
with the VIN number from this one that was totaled in a horrific crash in Florida.
A stolen car's VIN number would be flagged by authorities, but a totaled car's VIN wouldn't.
So there's no way that the VIN on that car that I saw was the real VIN number for that car?
I very much doubt that the car you saw in Africa was the same exact car. The VIN number on that car was re-VIN and is being driven around in another country.
With some clever coordination, the fraud boys can swap out the VIN of a stolen car with the same make and model that they pick up at a salvage auction.
So once it comes up clean from the pot,
there's nothing to worry about.
There's nothing to be worried about.
It raises a question about who's really calling the shots in these operations and who's making most of the money. I needed to get some answers, so I asked Ivan if he'd be willing to meet me again. In our first meeting, he didn't divulge much information, and it's rare to get a follow-up meeting with a top dog, but I'm hoping it will happen. I know there's a lot more he's not telling me.
We were actually told to wait in this parking lot by this church. Okay. This is where he's supposed to meet us.
I wasn't sure if he'd show up.
I think this might be him. Yeah, he just parked.
But now, it's go time. I managed to convince one of the top fraud boys in the stolen car game in Ghana to meet me for a rare second interview. I'm hoping this will be my chance for a tell-all, to see the stolen car world through his eyes.
And here's another club, and here you go, more fancy cars. We've got more Mercedes.
He takes me to an area known for nightlife in Accra, a place where he and fellow fraud boys come to woo potential clients.
Mercedes are big here, huh?
Original
Maserati. Do you think that's stolen?
It's possible. Most of these cars are all stolen.
Really?
Yeah, most of the boys come here to hang out. Top guys that are into their business now, the cooling car business. This is how some family, generations have made money.
How much money do you think we're talking about?
Millions of dollars. The business has become the competition. Who owns the latest cars? And that proves your connections. That proves you have strong contacts.
Up until this point, I had assumed that the American criminals were the masterminds of these operations, and that West Africa proved to be a useful place to offload their merchandise.
Their contract is to make available most expensive cars that you can think of.
So who's making most of the money?
The one who gets to sell it makes the money.
But he's finally spilling the beans. And as it turns out, it's actually the opposite.
So you make most of the money?
Yeah, I make most of the money.
The fraud boys are not just the buyers. They're the masterminds of the operation and have found willing American criminals to do their dirty work.
The chain is sort of separated,
cut off,
cut
separated.
off, so that you don't know what happens
What's
on the other
happening on
side.
the other side?
Right, and that protects the whole enterprise.
Yeah, that's how it is.
It's guys like Ivan in West Africa who are actually at the top of the pyramid in these international car theft rings.
Everybody wants cheap stuff in Africa.
So even rich people buy
Yeah,
cheap
rich people buy cheap stuff. So if you have a luxury car that's selling for like $60,000, that on the market is about $120,000. That's a better deal.
But wouldn't that raise flags? A car that's a
Who
third
is
of...
raising the flags here?
But at least it would raise some sort of suspicion, right? For the buyer, wouldn't they think for a second, oh, maybe this...
How would they know? Nobody knows.
So it goes really deep.
This business here, it's not just about stolen cars. We have the mix of these businesses.
The fraud boys, like the name suggests, are always on the lookout for the next opportunity, the next scam.
You know, the dark web is where everything happens.
Right.
I'm doing a business. I want to make profit out of whatever it is.
Their tentacles stretch into all sorts of criminal activities. Money laundering, romance scams, gold fraud. They're part of a growing syndicate that's way bigger than I'd imagined.
Do you feel sorry for the people that woke up one morning and they don't have their cars outside their houses?
I'm looking at how I can sell the car and make money. I'm not looking at how the other guy feels.
Okay, but isn't there a little part of you that thinks the poor guy doesn't have a car? Maybe he like saved all his money to buy this car?
When I hear somebody crying about his car, then I'll feel guilty. But since I'm not hearing that cry,
It's far away.
I mean, it's far away, so I don't feel guilty in any way.
With so much distance between the steal and the sell, it's not hard to imagine feeling disconnected. He might not feel guilty, but others do.
Do you ever feel bad for the people?
Yes, sometimes I ask myself, so what if this money is for someone's son's operation?
Yeah, but somebody would do the same thing to me. They're not gonna feel bad for me.
If you go and you end up in prison, you ask yourself, was it worth it? It wasn't.
Do you feel bad at all?
No. I need the money just probably better more than worse than they do.
No matter how you feel about the justifications for stealing these cars, the truth is, as long as the orders keep coming from this side of the Atlantic, the entire underground pipeline is bound to keep thriving.
There's no real deterrent to stop doing this, right?
Yeah, it's illegal from the States, not from my end.
How many cars do you estimate are being stolen every day in the city?
Oh, hundreds. Hundreds. I mean, we don't just steal them here.
So all across the country?
Yeah, oh yeah. If you can get a Bentley for the price of a Honda Accord, you're gonna get it. It's $1 billion a year business. All your money is profit. You gotta give me a good reason why you think it'll stop.
Around the world, from Los Angeles to South Korea, filmmakers have tapped into organ trafficking as a uniquely horrific subject.
Format our kidneys, lungs, heart.
It's a horror that, unbelievably, exists in the real world. And to players in this game, your body is a collection of products to be stolen or bought on the cheap, and then resold to buyers for astronomical prices.
How much would you pay to save your life?
Both men paid over $200,000 in order to obtain kidneys.
It's a sizable amount of money.
This red trade isn't a Hollywood creation. It's a reality with origins in modern-day Africa, Asia, and the Middle East.
In this village alone, more than half the people living here have sold one of their kidneys.
But now, rumors of the red trade are bubbling up far closer to home. And I set my sights on finding the people and organizations that are making a killing in body parts.
So this is the liquid that's coming from inside you?
Yeah, it's been in my stomach cavity for about 4 or 5 hours right now.
Garrett Rowe is hoping to beat the odds.
Just kind of taking out the toxins, processing what my kidneys aren't doing.
To stay alive, Garrett normally spends 9 hours each night hooked up to a dialysis machine.
I had a flu at one point, and they just noticed that my blood pressure was a little high. Did some blood work, and then probably by about 5:30 after I got home, I got a phone call, and she said, I have a room for you at the emergency room. You need to go right now.
And so what was happening?
They just were shutting down.
Your kidneys?
Yeah, because as of now, I essentially have less than 3% functionality.
Wow.
I mean, last year alone, I was almost a month and a half, 2 months in the hospital. So I was passing out. I was going headfirst into walls. Like I just couldn't function.
So you're going to need a new kidneys?
Yeah, I'll need one
kidney.
to start, and that should hopefully, I hope it gets me at best 20 more years, and I'll probably need a second one at that point.
And you've been on the list here in Georgia for how long now?
Oh, geez, almost 2 years, year and a half at least.
Really?
Yeah. On average, they say it's like 7 years that you wait on the list.
Wow.
On dialysis, it can roughly get you about 7 years extra before, like, you have to get an organ.
So what happens if you don't get an organ then?
That's it.
Right.
The numbers are brutal. In the United States, 17 people die every day waiting for an organ. In 2020, over 39,000 Americans did receive a transplant, but over 100,000 languished on a waiting list, hoping for a phone call that never came.
We've already had very loose conversations of what do we do when we don't get one.
I can't help but wonder what I would do in a situation where my life or the life of a loved one was hanging in the balance, and a solution, perhaps, was for sale in the underground.
What's plan B? Where do we go? Who do we know in other countries that could help us out and set us up with whatever we need?
Facing the same struggle, how many patients in America have made the decision to take action? To head towards a destination where the will to live overpowers judgment of right and wrong.
The mortality rate while waiting for an organ in this country can actually be more than 50% because we don't have enough organs.
Wow. In San Francisco, Peter Chin Hong is an infectious disease doctor who specializes in transplant patients.
How prevalent would you say are black market organs in the United States?
So we know the floor, which is at least 10%, but it's certainly much higher because the 10% is what we know about.
When you think that you found a patient that has performed the surgery elsewhere and has a black market organ, do you ask them?
So it's a really difficult conversation. It's hush-hush.
What is it that you think makes them not want to tell you the truth?
Embarrassment, guilt, because they didn't line up like everyone else here. And depending on how they got it, there could be fear of, harm, maybe if you reveal identities of certain organizations that might be doing this.
And do you have any sense of where these organs are coming from?
We know that the Philippines, China, India, and some places in Eastern Europe, but there are undoubtedly other places as well.
No recipients under Dr. Chin Hong's care would agree to meet. But combing through social media, there are ample clues of a thriving trade overseas.
This one sells kidney for $6,000. Location is Rwanda. It's 26 years old and healthy. I mean, it's just message after message. It's mostly actually from developing countries, which is the really sad truth about this.
And that makes me wonder, with a full-blown migrant crisis taking place at our own borders, could organ trafficking be right here at the doorstep of the United States? It's a question I put to my contacts.
So, any luck with this organ trafficking story?
Not really. I've been calling a whole bunch of people. They don't have anything yet.
Você viu o meu e-mail, então, sobre esse tema do tráfico de órgãos que a gente está... Olá, tudo bem? Como estás? Encontraste alguma coisa desse tema de tráfico de órgãos ou não?
Es muy complicado, muy difícil.
Experts say that organ trafficking is widespread, but incredibly difficult to report.
Qué difícil, ¿eh? Nada concreto.
Often because the victims are poor, are willing participants, and there's no political will to go after medical tourists and wealthy doctors who enable the trade.
Ciao. Adios. Adios. Hey, Oliver, how are you doing?
Fine, Marianne. Yeah, I've been in touch with a couple of guys at organized crime. They basically are confirming that they are more and more involved in illegal organ trafficking.
Oh, wow. So did you think that if we go down to Colombia, we'll be able to film, meet people, and talk to people about this trade?
Definitely. You should come down here.
It's been almost 30 years since Pablo Escobar was gunned down on a rooftop in Medellin. But this region of Colombia has remained a crossroads for cartel activity and cocaine trafficking. And if my local producer, Oliver Schmieg, is correct, it's also becoming a hub for organ traffickers. Normally, when I set out to report on a story, whether it's drugs or guns or scams, I have some expectations of how the market operates. But here, there's no telling, because this market, if it exists, is so new. There are no official reports, no arrests, and no bodies. If we are to prove the existence of organ trafficking in Colombia, it will be an investigation that begins with accounts from the underworld. To be viable, an organ like a kidney must come from a live donor, or a body that has just died, and must be transplanted within 36 hours, preferably even sooner. If all of our sources are correct, and organs are being smuggled out of Colombia, that's a remarkably short window for them to cross borders and be transplanted into another body. So I've come to see if I can confirm it with my own eyes. The town we're heading to, Turbo, is rumored to be the epicenter of smuggling for Colombia's most dangerous cartel, the Clan del Golfo.
And how dangerous is it to report in this region?
It's pretty dangerous. I mean, it's a region which is controlled by the biggest drug cartel in Colombia. I would easily say 80% of the population here is connected to drug trafficking activities.
Yes, you heard that right. And if you look around, cartel markings are everywhere. I've been to Turbo once before to report on the movement of cocaine. But this time, I'm looking into something far more sinister, and in many ways, hoping it doesn't exist.
So we're heading now to meet the comandante, which we met last time, who was trafficking cocaine, right, in charge of this area.
Yeah.
Our first stop is to meet with an operative known as the Commander, who controls smuggling routes for the clan, granting safe passage to those who pay the cartel, and punishment for those who don't.
This is him. Hola, comandante.
Hola.
¿Se recuerda de mí?
Sí.
Sí. Me dijeron que ha tenido una promoción.
Sí, ahora me mandaron para la frontera de Panamá.
¿Y qué pasa ahí en esa frontera?
Pasan coca, inmigrantes, órganos. Entonces me tuve que estudiar todo eso.
Looking at a map, it's easy to see why the cartel has placed the Commander here, and why it's one of the world's hotspots for smuggling. There are no roads connecting Colombia and Panama. Anybody headed north must travel by boat or pass overland through the Darien Gap, a 100-mile journey through one of the most treacherous jungles in the world.
¿El negocio de órganos es nuevo o ya existe mucho tiempo?
No, eso por ahí está nuevo.
Controlling the Darien Gap is crucial for the cartel, which collects a so-called tax on drugs and migrants. And now, I'm being told, on human organs.
¿Y cuál es su trabajo en ese negocio? ¿Usted está envolvido?
Bueno, eso no es lo mío, pero como me toca custodiar toda esa zona, siempre me toca custodiarlo a ellos. Igual ellos están pagando su plata.
¿Y entonces cómo sabe usted, o sea, saber que se pasa ese negocio que existe?
Porque ellos a nosotros no mienten. Porque eso que nos miente le van a ocurrir ese pena de muerte.
¿Y por qué no hay tipo, no sé, personas aquí, autoridades, periodistas?
Pero están enfocados en la droga y en el terrorismo.
Usted dice que usted no está involucrado en eso directamente, pero ¿conoce a alguien que pueda hablar con nosotros, que tal vez está involucrado? ¿Sí? ¿Quién?
Él es el encargado de rajarle y sacarle los órganos, de envasarlo.
¿Y piensa que hablaría con nosotros?
Sí, yo se lo hago yo.
While we wait to see if the interview will happen, I'm headed 30 miles north to the town of Necoclí. If migrants are being targeted for their organs in Colombia, this is probably where it would be happening.
Think we should go that way, maybe? So this is the point, the beach, where we hear a lot of the migrants congregate before they make their way across the sea.
This small town has been transformed from a minor tourist destination to a choke point for migrants who get stuck here for weeks at a time, waiting for a seat on a boat to continue their journey north to America.
And you see there's the Red Cross is here. ¿Y cuánto piensas que pasan por aquí cada día?
Por día, por ahí unos 1,000.
¿1,000 por día?
Sí.
Migration and refugee crises have been breeding grounds for organ traffickers in other parts of the world. It's an economy of desperation. Just as Garrett's desperation in America could someday lead him to buy an organ on the black market, here in Colombia, it's easy to see how desperation could also fuel someone's desire to sell one.
Una de las razones que dijiste tú que quieres irte por tus niños.
Sí, para Estados Unidos.
Una
para
mejor
tener
calidad
una
de
buena
vida para ellos.
Claro, y para nosotros mismos.
¿Por qué saliste del Haití?
Porque la vida es muy difícil. Es que yo tuviste un tiempo que yo la pasaste muy mala sobre de mi hijo, y mi mamá, mi papá. Ellos murieron en el terremoto.
Heartbreak and hope are everywhere here. But evidence of organ harvesting is elusive.
Everyone here in his group has heard rumors of organ trafficking, but he's not sure.
Neither the Red Cross nor the local police have confirmed anything beyond scant rumors. But one policeman did agree to speak with us on condition of anonymity.
Yo trabajo como policía hace 5 años.
En 5 años, los últimos 15 días fue la primera vez que escuchaste una cosa así, del tráfico de órganos.
De diferentes personas.
Diferentes personas. ¿De dónde eran esos migrantes?
Haitianos.
¿Y ya hablaste con otros policías, tus colegas?
Un compañero escuchó pues lo mismo, sobre que el tráfico de órganos y eso, pues ya empieza uno como a creer un poco más de que es una realidad.
Y ahora, cuando has tenido esa información, ¿qué se puede hacer con esa información?
Es que ahí es como complicado. La persona que me lo comenta no va a ir conmigo a denunciar por lo que yo te dije. Quizás ellos tienen el temor de que quizás al informar puede que les suceda algo, pueda que cierren ese paso y entonces ellos tienen pues como ese temor, por eso es que no informan.
¿Por qué decidiste hablar con nosotros?
Porque yo soy policía, pero antes de ser policía soy persona. Entonces yo me sentía muy mal quizás de no informar esto cuando es algo que probablemente esté pasando. Hay mucha gente que viene pues, cada uno viene con su sueño, quizás ellos tienen su sueño de llegar a ciertos lugares. No se imaginan pues la gravedad de las cosas que pueden pasar allá. Entonces por ese motivo yo pues quise informar.
¿Es tú que estás yendo, tu familia?
Sí.
Que te vaya bien, ¿ah?
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Dios.
As these families prepare for the perils of the Darien Gap, they're largely upbeat. The violence they're escaping in their home countries feels far more real than these rumors of organ harvesting. I, on the other hand, am growing increasingly concerned.
So you've just been given the location to go meet this man who apparently goes by the name of Deshuesador.
It's an ominous name. In Spanish, deshuesador is the word for somebody who tears apart cars, a wrecker.
We don't know much about this guy. We've been told he's pretty high up on the chain. There's no light. It's completely dark, and there's a gate. Hola, soy Mariana.
Hola.
¿Todo bien?
Bien, gracias, señor.
Gracias por encontrarte con nosotros. ¿Estaba esperando nosotros?
Sí, claro.
Me decían que tienes un apodo, ¿verdad?
Sí, claro.
¿Cuál es?
Deshuesador.
Deshuesador.
Sí.
¿Y qué significa eso?
Matar gente, sacar órganos.
Entonces, ¿parte del plan?
Sí, trabajo para ello.
¿Tú entraste haciendo otras cosas primero o de inmediato fuiste a los órganos?
Sí, inmediato a los órganos. De un amigo, que es comandante en el clan del Golfo, entonces.
¿Y qué te pidió él de hacer qué? ¿Qué te ha pedido de hacer qué?
A rajar unos cuerpos.
¿Rajar cómo? ¿Con qué?
Con unos cuchillos.
Un cuerpo de una persona, ya estaba muerta la persona.
No, viva amarrada. Y sacarle los órganos.
¿Por qué vivo?
Normal. Esa es la orden del jefe.
¿Qué te dice de matarlo, de abrirlos mientras están vivos?
Sí, claro.
No.
Sí, te tienen ahí, se cogen primero, se les hace un examen de sangre, si es compatible.
¿Y dónde vas a buscar a esas personas?
Cogemos migrantes, tenemos muchos aquí en Necoclí.
¿Pero quién está utilizando los instrumentos de sacar?
El médico y yo, los dos.
¿Pero tú tienes algún... ¿Tú sabes sacar los órganos?
Sí, ya nos han explicado los médicos, se suelta por acá la carne, con cuidado, se está zafando, se suelta acá también que viene amarrado por arriba y se extrae.
¿Y qué tipo de órganos estás hablando?
Riñones, hígados, hasta hay piel, a veces hemos exportado piel también.
¿Piel?
Sí. Complicado, pero se hace.
¿Y cómo se hace el transporte?
Se va con la rápida, la cocaína.
¿Y para dónde? ¿Para qué dirección? ¿Por qué países tiene que ir?
A veces llega a Estados Unidos, llega a Panamá.
The go-fast boats that he refers to could certainly make it to Panama in time for a kidney transplant. But could an organ be safely smuggled from here all the way up to an operating room in the United States? And within just 2 days? I have my doubts.
¿Cómo te sientes? Yo todavía no lo creo. Si quieres que sea honesta, no lo creo que lo hagas con las personas vivas así.
Sí, tremendo.
¿Y cuántas personas piensas que hiciste, que mataste?
Muchas.
¿Pero que decenas o centenas?
Sí, decenas.
¿Y te pagan cuánto?
No mucho. 60, 70 millones.
$15,000, $20,000, ¿por qué?
Por trabajo.
¿Por cada trabajo que haces?
Sí, claro.
¿Pero por cuánto se vende el órgano?
No, ahí sí no le dice el patrón a uno. Me imagino que debe ser por mucha plata. Exportamos órganos a Estados Unidos, a Brasil y México.
¿Cómo hago a saber si me estás diciendo la verdad?
No, yo tengo muchos videos.
¿En tu teléfono?
Sí, claro.
The video he shows me is too gruesome to show on television. Organs are being removed from a dead body. It's happening in a surgical setting, but there's no care involved. Rather, hands are pulling organs from an open chest and casually slapping them down on a metal table. Whether they represent what he claims, I cannot say. But by the time he's walked away, I feel like I can hardly breathe.
Yeah, that was heavy and horrible and incredibly dark and depressing. And really difficult at the same time to believe a lot of what he was saying because it just sounds so horrible. I think the hardest interview I've ever had to do in my life. I mean, how much is he trying to make himself be more important in this than he actually is? Like he knows what he's doing? That I'm not sure, and I don't think we ever will know.
Ego plays an important role in black markets. It's very often the reason why people agree to talk to me. And sometimes it's difficult to parse the truth from bluster and lies. What I do know is that a business that works for one criminal group is often copied by another. And since the Wrecker has mentioned ties to the Mexican cartels, I'm going to follow the story north, even closer to the US border.
Si nos están esperando ahorita, están en un estacionamiento, hay un coche rojo, tenemos que irnos para allá.
Okay.
In other parts of the world, organ trafficking rings have employed a small army of accomplices. Recruiters, doctors, nurses, hospital administrators, even people to launder the cash. I'm hoping that if I can find a low-level accomplice, doors might open to bigger players.
Solamente te voy a pedir un favor. No graben a las personas que están ahí. La persona del lado derecho puede ser muy peligrosa. Por favor, no graben a las personas.
My search starts here, with a criminal group that I've been told buys kidneys from Mexican citizens, which are then resold for transplant.
There's two guys waiting inside the car. And they're looking very suspiciously at us. Hola, soy Mariana.
No.
¿Y vamos a encontrarnos con un médico o con una persona que... Yes, we're here. It's an old house with lots of trash everywhere. ¿Está bien así?
Está bien, sí.
They're closing the gate behind us. Not the ideal situation. Hola.
Hello.
Hi. So I hear you speak English?
Yeah.
How should I call you?
Angel.
He's got a gun?
Oh, we have to be protected. We're in this business, so...
Okay, so Angel, what do you do?
Well, I'm like a scout. I'm looking for the people
Who are willing to...
who are willing to donate.
And so how do you figure out if these people are even compatible?
We have to make some exams, so if they are, let's go. If they're not, sorry, man. We took him here like a week.
Where is here?
Here, right here. Yeah.
You serious? So this is actually where you bring the...
To rest, to stay with us, to vitamins.
And how often do these organs end up in American bodies?
Whoa, there's more lines from American side than from Mexico.
So Angel, I hope you don't mind me asking, but we're in Mexico, and we know that nothing happens here without the knowledge of the cartels, so...
Ajá, hay cosas que no puedo detallarlo mucho. Ay, no, deja tú, me puedo meter en problemas yo con... Hay gente que...
Yeah, you think too. Claro.
Unlike the murder for organs scenario in Colombia, Angel says he's buying organs, not stealing them. But in both instances, there's undoubtedly the presence of organized crime. And I've come here to make contact with one group.
I think it's here.
¿Cómo quieres que te llame?
Paloma, está bien.
Pero no es tu nombre real.
No, no.
Me decían si queremos encontrarnos con el grupo que tenía que primero hablar contigo.
Sí, mi yerno es el que sabe todo eso.
¿Y tu yerno, entonces el trabajo de él es como el...?
Sí, o sea, él está involucrado en la mafia.
¿Él está dónde?
Él está en la cárcel.
¿Él lo organiza del cárcel?
Por teléfono. Ellos tienen como una clínica, lo están haciendo como legal, pero ilegal.
Paloma describes a medical practice in this town where surgeons work hand in hand with organized crime, profiting from transplants to wealthy Mexicans and Americans.
¿Piensas que hablaría con nosotros? The guy in prison, he's apparently agreed to talk to us. Apparently he also has a phone in prison. And he said that only after we speak to him will he decide whether he lets us interview the doctor or not.
Pan de dulce y bolillo. Pan de dulce y bolillo.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Mariana.
Sí, bien, ¿cómo está usted?
Que estamos grabando la entrevista. Usted sabe, ¿está todo bien con usted? ¿Se lo hacemos? ¿Se lo grabamos?
Sí, adelante, no hay problema.
I've met up again with Paloma, who's letting me use her phone to speak with her son-in-law in prison.
Pienso que ya la primera pregunta sería, ¿cómo está involucrado usted en ese mercado de los órganos?
Pues sí, yo estoy como responsable.
¿De todo?
Sí. Yo tengo que moverme de lugar. Voy a pasar de...
Ok.
Para que le tuve... De hecho, no hay problema, ¿eh? Hola.
¿Se llama usted?
Oh, yeah. Yo soy... You speak English?
Oh, yeah. You speak English?
Yeah.
This is a first for me. I've spoken with crime bosses behind bars before, but none who've handed me off to their assistant.
Can you tell me how you and your boss, how are you guys involved in the organ trade? What exactly is your role in it?
You know, people come from other countries and they pay a lot of money. They need like livers, they need kidneys or stuff like that.
The demand for black market organs, according to is met with a steady supply, provided by patients at a local medical clinic.
Doctors, they help us to see if they are compatibles con los órganos, pero some people we just have to levantarla and llevarla, porque un hígado nos cuesta $200,000, you know? It's a lot of money.
So you're saying that sometimes that these people, they're not just selling the organs because they want to. You're saying that you guys actually force them to. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
And who are these people and where do you find them?
Some doctors work with us, and ellos son los que te dicen, esta persona sí puede, esta no. En la que ya no sirve, nosotros no la podemos dejar alive, you know? Because it's a lot of trouble for us.
How so? What do you mean? Like, how is it trouble? Because how do they know anything?
I mean, if...
Oyes, pero no tienes que decir todo, nomás no.
Y ellos no nos sirven, se tienen que morir, porque no podemos dejar testigos.
I had thought that here in Mexico, this trade was about commerce, not murder. But it seems I was mistaken.
Escúchame, ella no te está preguntando eso. Sí, o sea, a veces desaparecen a las personas, pero eso no queremos saber.
Okay, ¿Dónde encuentran ustedes las personas?
Los doctores nos ayudan para conseguir personas compatibles. So when that happens, le hacen todo el procedimiento a la persona, le pagamos su órgano.
¿Y cuánto les pagan ahí, sabes?
Les pagamos hasta 50,000 o 100,000 pesos.
¿Se puede vender un órgano por $200,000?
Sí.
¿Vienen también de los Estados Unidos, pacientes americanos?
La mayoría son americanos e italianos, from Canada.
Do you think I could talk to the boss again real quick? I wanted to ask him a couple more questions.
Sí.
Ah, hola. Qué bueno, qué bueno. Y entonces, ¿y las personas que están donando o vendiendo los órganos, son qué? ¿Son migrantes? ¿Qué tipo de personas son?
No, pues son de clase media,
¿Y por qué quieren vender sus órganos si son de clase media?
porque están desahuciados y quieren dejar a la familia pues bien, ¿no?
Ok, entonces, ¿es verdad que ustedes también, si la persona no quiere vender sus órganos, ustedes las dejan revivir?
Pues en veces sí tenemos que recurrir a eso.
¿A qué? ¿Amenazarlos o forzarlos?
Mira, los doctores hacen su trabajo.
Director.
Ya te están llamando, ya estoy escuchando que te están llamando. Ok, entonces, pero ¿piensas que vamos a poder hablar entonces con médico, con tu permisión?
Pues necesito hablar con ellos primero.
The boss never gave me a clear answer about whether they were killing people. But it's not hard to read between the lines. I'm past the point of wondering whether this trafficking network exists. What I want to know now is how it actually works. And I'm hoping one of the doctors at this clinic can provide the answers. We've been in Colombia, we've been to Mexico several times now, just waiting for this interview. 3 days pass by before the call comes. So we've been waiting for over 2 hours now. They were supposed to get here at 2. It's now 4:10. This is actually the 6th doctor that we've contacted. The other 5 backed out. Hey. Okay, coming down. Is it better? So I'm going to put a microphone on you, doctor.
Sí, no hay problema.
You know, I was actually very, very nervous that you weren't going to come. So, can you tell me what is it that you do? You're a doctor, and
Sí.
in the world of the black market, what is it that you do exactly?
Bueno, conseguir trasplantes para tejidos u órganos. Ujú.
¿Y los pacientes que vienen, que necesitan de órganos, where are they from?
Pues normalmente de Estados Unidos llegan muchas personas allá, pues son los que tienen la mejor economía.
¿Y cuánto dinero reciben las personas que están donando?
Varía, no sabré decirle cómo llegan. Esos son acuerdos que hacen entre los familiares de la persona que va a donar y el receptor. Es que los donadores, hay veces que los donadores, la mayor parte son fallecidos, personas que han fallecido y que han estado de acuerdo en donar sus órganos, pero hay veces que también personas vivas.
¿Pero usted trabaja con el señor que está en el cárcel?
No, yo las cosas que hago son legales.
Something feels off. It seems this doctor is only willing to go so far with cameras rolling. Sí, pero vender un órgano en México es ilegal.
Oh, sí.
Entonces, si usted no conoce al señor del cárcel, ¿cómo es que está aquí ahorita? Porque fue a través del señor del cárcel que conseguimos encontrar con usted.
A mí me conectó.
No está involucrado en la parte del mercado negro.
No.
¿Usted ha visto alguna vez algún paciente de eso?
Sí, he visto personas que han tenido problemas por lo que les han hecho.
¿Y que les faltaba un riñón o un órgano?
Pues sí, que llegan muriéndose porque algo les hicieron, les quitaron.
¿Y fueron personas que no lo estaban haciendo voluntariamente?
Sí.
They were forced to give?
Sí, sí. Pues parece que el proceso de que los drogan. Los drogan y les quitan el riñón o lo que necesitan quitarles. Normalmente mueren ahí en el momento
Y entonces hay mismo personas que mueren con esto.
Normalmente sí.
Escuchamos que hay personas, por ejemplo, usted como médico que tiene un paciente que está muriendo y que usted como médico le dice, mire, usted está muriendo, yo le puedo dar a usted, a su familia dinero. ¿Eso se pasa?
Sí pasa. Me han ofrecido dinero por muchas cosas.
¿Y cuánto dinero le ofrecieron?
Pues $10,000, $15,000 a veces dan.
Eso es mucho dinero.
Es mucho dinero.
¿Qué tipo de doctor es usted?
Yo soy médico general.
The doctor describes his role as testing black market donors and recipients for compatibility before handing the results to transplant surgeons.
Ok, pero usted sabe que ese trabajo es ilegal, ¿verdad?
Sí. Bueno, se usa para hacer algo ilegal, pero en sí ese proceso no es ilegal.
Ok, fue una entrevista muy interesante porque usted empezó a decir una cosa y acabó diciendo una otra para mí. Y le gustaría de preguntar, ¿quién piensa usted que está atrás de todo eso?
Hay algunos cárteles, algunos grupos delictivos que se encargan de eso.
Are you in touch with them? ¿Usted está en contacto con ellos?
Pues he conocido algunas, sí, pero me mantengo lejos de eso, no lo puedo evitar. Pero no quiero meterme en problemas porque amenazan a la familia y todas las cosas.
But they gave you the okay to speak to us today.
Así como que de repente alguien me hacen esa recomendación. No es una amenaza, es una recomendación. Y bueno, yo no entiendo. Hay cosas que, bueno, no se pueden decir. Sí.
We trust doctors to protect and preserve life. But here, some combination of coercion and a promise of profit is turning into murderers. If I had doubts that the red trade existed in Colombia, I have none that it's thriving here in Mexico. There is one stone left unturned. Who are the buyers? I've spent months looking for an organ recipient willing to speak to me. Finally, from prison, Paloma's son-in-law has made an introduction.
I did because I want to enjoy my life. I decided to talk to you because I probably am going to be the only one that you're going to find.
Yeah, we've been trying for many months. You're the first one to agree to talk to us.
I did what I did to survive. In this world, there's so many ways to get what you want if you have the money.
This is a man we'll call Juan. 9 months ago, he claims that diabetes nearly took his life. But he was saved by a pancreas transplant obtained through this same cartel connection.
How do you find an organ in a black market? Or how do you even find the black market?
A guy with the diabetes, he gave me a little bit tiny information that I found the rest of the information.
So you started asking around, and then how soon after were you able to actually get the surgery?
I mailed my blood work to a certain place, and they thought that I was ready.
How many people were in the team? Is it a staff?
I don't know. I'm not telling you. It's better not telling you, for me.
Because, yeah.
For whatever.
There could be consequences to you telling me.
For you and for me.
And how much did you pay for the surgery?
Everything.
More than $100,000?
More than $100,000.
More than $200,000?
More than $200,000.
Was it $500,000?
A little bit more.
A little bit more than $500,000.
And you have 200,000, and I had 300,000. I get it, you don't.
So you were ready to pay more than anyone else?
I was ready to fight for my life. I just wanted to be away from the pain. I just needed to stop suffering.
Do you know where your pancreas came from?
Of course not. I don't care. I don't know nothing. I don't want to know nothing. I just have the money and I did it.
If it's a full pancreas, then the person that donated, the pancreas had to be dead. But if it's part of a pancreas, it could have been given by a person who's still alive. Would it make a difference if you knew? Would you have done anything differently if you found out that they had forced somebody or even possibly killed somebody?
I would have, no, not do it.
You would have not done it?
No, it's not nice. So it was just good not to ask questions. This is nothing that I wanted to go through. This is not the life that I wanted for me. May I ask you a question, ma'am? If you were in my position, if you were me, and that's the only choice you got, would you do it?
I have no idea, because you'd have to be in that position.
You were ready for the question.
But I have thought about this many times, and I think people go to great lengths to survive and to be able to continue living.
And it's true. Ethical arguments hit a wall when it comes to our own survival and that of our families. What wouldn't I do? What wouldn't any of us do if our own life or our child's life hung in the balance?
So you've never felt inclined to go online and try to see where you could possibly get a black market?
No. I mean, it's in like the back of your head of like, you know, would you? And you know, if someone said like, hey, I got an organ like tomorrow, okay, let's figure this out. Let's do this. But like, where can you turn? Who do you ask? Who do you find out? Who do you trust?
Right.
It's hard enough to find like a weed dealer, like let alone an organ.
For somebody like Garrett, who's playing by the rules, who deserves a chance to live, our society has an obligation to make a more efficient legal market. So there's simply no reason for a black market to exist.
If there were a way to do it the right way, I would do it. But it has not been.
Stars like Jared Leto dressed up like Joe Exotic.
There's really only one big story that
the #1 show in the U.S. You cannot turn away.
Joe Exotic, Carol Baskin, Doc Antle.
White people, what's with you and wild animals?
When Tiger King became a phenomenon,
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's
Hey, all
Carol.
you cool cats and kittens, it's me, Ellen.
it made each of them household names.
Joe Exotic.
Serie documental de Netflix Tiger King.
Cardi B wants to free the Tiger King.
he's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted.
I'll take a look.
But while the series focuses on the bizarre private lives at the center of America's big cat industry, very little attention is given to the status of tigers today. In America, tiger cubs are bred so guests can snap pictures at roadside zoos. In Asia, they're poached, farmed, butchered, and turned into products. At a time when one of the most iconic predators faces extinction, we set out to tell the real story of the tiger. Who are the breeders?
I am the only one qualified. No one else in the world has ever done what we do.
Who are the traffickers?
They do not like journalists. They're probably going to torture you if they find out you're a journalist.
And what can we do to save the tiger?
Prepaid call from
Joe Exotic.
an inmate at the Grady County Jail. This call is also subject to being recorded or monitored. Hello?
Hi, how are you doing? Mariana here.
Hi.
Thank you so much for calling me.
It all started with an online reality show.
Hey, I'm Joe Exotic, the gay gun-carrying redneck with a mullet.
Before Netflix's hit series Tiger King made Joe Exotic famous worldwide.
He was like a mythical character living out in the middle of Oklahoma.
But lost in the hype surrounding the series.
So Joe says, will you go to Florida and what?
Kill that party.
Was a serious discussion about private tiger ownership in America.
I've been in the tiger industry for a little over 20 years now. Probably the largest breeder and handler of tigers in the United States.
So give me just a sense of the tiger sort of community, cup petting zoos and all that.
Well, you're getting the world to pay for your hobby. At least I was man enough to say, look, I own a roadside zoo, and I breed tigers. You know, I'm stuck trying to figure out why the hell I'm in jail, first of all.
To be clear, Joe Exotic is behind bars because he was convicted of the attempted murder for hire of Carol Baskin, as well as 17 wildlife crimes.
In the words of the judge at Joe Exotic's sentencing, Joe is a master manipulator who is engaged in, quote, systematic trafficking of tigers and other big cats.
Yet, critics of Tiger King say the series celebrated Joe, while largely overlooking his treatment of animals.
Joe is not a folk hero. He is somebody who for decades profited off of the exploitation and abuse of animals, and Joe is finally where he belongs.
So why would you want to breed a tiger? Well, in the US, roadside zoos can bring in big money by offering cub petting experiences to tourists.
You know, they raise tiger cubs so that people can pay money and take selfies. So they have to have this constant supply of these little tiny tiger cubs between 1 and 4 months. So there's just this huge breeding operation. But the key thing here is that after the cubs are about 4 months old, they're too dangerous for the public to handle. They need to be handed off somewhere. And often I don't think we really know what happens to them.
To understand the scope of the issue, National Geographic magazine reviewed Joe Exotic's records from 2010 to 2018 and learned that his zoo traded nearly 200 tigers with dozens of other private owners across America. Breeders like Joe are one of the reasons that there are now an estimated 5,000 to 10,000 tigers in the United States. With less than 4,000 tigers left in the wild, there are now more tigers living in captivity in the US than there are wild tigers living in the rest of the world.
If something's endangered, hell, we need to start breeding it, do we not? Is that not what the purpose of it being endangered is we need more of?
But it's not that simple. And my journey to understand why takes me to the other side of the world. Tigers face a grave threat in the wild, as they make up part of the $20 billion a year illegal wildlife trade. To see just what the tiger is up against, I'm headed to the front lines of that global black market.
One dead tiger will usually fetch between $30,000 and $50,000.
Steve Galster is the founder of Freeland Foundation, an NGO working to end wildlife trafficking all over the world.
They're taking pictures of what they're going to sell. There's the head, and then they've got the ribs.
Steve is showing me tiger parts seized by authorities. The parts were likely destined for tiger wine or tiger pills. Due to age-old cultural traditions, buyers believe, without any scientific evidence, that tiger products cure everything, from rheumatism to male impotence.
So the bone wine, all of that, this is all black market?
Yeah, all tiger part trade is illegal.
To brew tiger wine, bones of a recently slaughtered tiger are steeped in a vat of rice wine for up to 8 years. Demand for the product has increased as rising incomes in the region have allowed more people to afford luxury goods. There may now be as many as 8,000 tigers in Asian farms alone.
This is structured very much like drug trafficking. You're moving illegal commodities. The profit margins are high. The organization is very slick. In fact, some of these folks made their money in drug trafficking and moved over into wildlife trafficking.
Tigers illegally sold in this part of the world are often trafficked through one place, the Golden Triangle.
The power of the people who own these tigers and these tiger farms is enormous.
The Golden Triangle is a border region between Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar.
You know, I've been working on tiger investigation for a long time. Golden Triangle, it's known as being a lawless playground for criminals.
Anna, not her real name, is a freelance journalist who has investigated the black markets of this region for years. For her safety, we're disguising her identity.
Why here? Of all the places, why do you think that all this wildlife trafficking is happening through here?
Most wild tigers go to China or Vietnam. So Laos is like the perfect transit place.
Just across the Mekong River from Thailand lies the King's Roman Casino. Run by Zhao Wei, a Chinese businessman, the casino advertises itself as the place for legal gambling in the region. But the U.S. Treasury Department has said that Zhao Wei is involved in drug smuggling, child prostitution, and wildlife trafficking.
Drugs, weapons, and wildlife trafficking.
Everything bad, you name it.
So it's sort of like a little criminal enclave inside Laos. So in that respect, it's super dangerous because they're trying to protect their income.
Yeah.
Zhao Wei has denied the charges against him. In the past, his casino openly advertised tiger bone wine in promotional brochures, and recent reports say they are still breeding tigers. Anna visited the casino grounds herself 5 days ago and witnessed a zoo with dozens of tigers, which she believes could be destined for tiger wine.
They actually located before the casino.
Just tigers in cages?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'll be visiting the King's Roman Casino myself.
For front and back.
I normally do everything I can to avoid looking like a tourist.
Definitely having a bag that says National Geographic. The first thing to ditch.
But Anna tells me Zhao Wei's informants are everywhere in the Golden Triangle.
Perfect, with the little elephants.
So we have to blend in.
So this is Jeff, our director, who's fully embracing the blending in like a tourist.
That's right.
That hat looks great on you.
Thank you, yeah. Tommy gave it to me, our driver, and said, you need to look like tourists. Golden Triangle.
Yeah, cheese! Golden Triangle!
We have a camera, looks like a tourist camera. We also have a little selfie stick, which I don't actually know how to operate. There'll be a lot of selfies today, a lot of smiling. One thing really important, actually, is to smile a lot. Make sure you really look like tourists. We're having a great time. Everybody has their passports.
Posing as tourists, my team and I are leaving the relative safety of Thailand and crossing over into Laos.
This is it, the casino. Okay, tourist mode. Let's do this. tourist mode. It's the Blue Shield Casino, owned by the King's Roman Group.
Here in the Golden Triangle, I'm trying to blend in. I don't want to catch the attention of alleged criminal boss Jiao Wei.
So that's a casino, and behind that big golden building, that's the hotel, the massive hotel they're building right behind it.
I'm well aware that journalists looking into the tiger trade are not welcome.
We should continue going because the security guards at the casino were looking at us, of course. Let's walk. Let's walk.
5 years ago, conservationists reported finding tiger wine, tiger meat, and other endangered animal parts openly for sale at the casino's Chinatown-themed shopping center.
Are people looking at us or just pretending?
After international outrage, the Laotian government made a show of raiding some of the shops and burning tiger skins on TV. But reports afterward said tiger products were still for sale.
Ooh, look at all the flies on this meat.
Just not openly advertised.
Tasty.
When I ask for tiger meat, I'm laughed at.
No?
I try various shops.
Nobody know?
Yeah, nobody know.
But if any of them have black market tiger products, they're not about to sell them to a Westerner.
Our guide was saying that he doesn't feel like it's very safe for us to be here anymore. So we should go, guys. Let's go.
I suspected this might happen, which is why I'm not the only one doing an investigation at the casino today.
So this is the camera. It goes here. I'm gonna need your help.
Anna has assembled her own undercover team to try to find out just how prevalent the black market for tiger really is. Like me, Anna is rebuffed at first.
We walked down this alley, right? Just like a bunch of old-style Chinese restaurants. When you do something like this, they're not gonna come offer it to you right away.
As Anna and her team stake out the restaurants, I head to look for the tigers themselves.
So we're looking for the cages, which are somewhere over there.
Anna has given me the GPS coordinates of the casino's tiger zoo.
We passed it already, basically, Seth?
Hey, where are Anna?
How are you, Anna? We're here.
What do you see?
Nothing. There's nothing here. I mean, it's all brand new construction site. There's like a hole. It was all bulldozed, all turned down. So you were just here 5 days ago, and it was all here. They were all here, the tigers and the cages.
It was all here.
Not here anymore. It's really frustrating.
I strike out again. But for Anna, things are looking up.
It took us 1.5 hours.
Just sitting and drinking?
Yeah, and talking, eat some more, and drink some more, till we get really loud, really drunk. And the lady showed up. And she, take out this thing. And I'm like, what? Such an amazing presentation.
It's incredible. So it's an actual glass. You see an actual glass.
Yeah, I have it here too. You want to take?
Yes, I'd love to see it.
Anna can't confirm that this is actually tiger wine, but in a dark twist, the box is labeled Tiger King Wine.
It is insane.
A couple years ago, almost at every Chinese restaurant sell tiger bone wine out in the open and tiger meat. But because the US has sanctioned them, they really try hard to change the image. So everything has gone underground.
Investigators in the Golden Triangle say that tiger products here are increasingly sold under the counter. and much of the trade has moved to social media, like the Chinese app WeChat. And in Laos and other Asian countries, criminal groups have been known to utilize zoos as fronts for commercial breeding.
They open a zoo, as front, and then they breed and produce more tiger for something like this.
So what happened to all of the tigers that Anna saw in the casino zoo?
About 3 kilometers. About
3 kilometers?
Yes.
Are they in cages? The tigers in cages?
Just when I'm about to get on the boat back to Thailand, we catch a lucky break.
Tommy here has been inquiring for us all around. And as we're about to leave, Tommy made some contact with this guy behind us who drives a tuk-tuk, and he knows where the tigers are located.
The driver says the casino's tigers were moved just a few days ago to a new zoo high on the mountain.
Driver here says he knows where these the tigers have been moved to. We hope that he actually does know, and also that he's not taking us to a police station or the casino owners or. Is it here? I think he's turning off into this dirt road. I think we're getting close, so we don't want to be seen.
The compound appears to be surrounded by a tall perimeter wall.
Okay, so we're at the location. We're going around the fences to try to see if we can find an opening in.
As we walk up, we can see black bears in the distance. Though we can't be sure the fate of these bears, in the past, bear paw soup has been offered on menus at King's Roman Casino.
We've seen bears, we've seen deer. We're still trying to find the tiger cages.
And then we hear the roars.
Okay, he's saying we can see them from here.
Far away, but unmistakable.
You see them?
Chinese police people.
Chinese what? Police?
Police.
Okay, guys, let's walk. Let's walk.
Tour.
Stop. Oh, stop. Sorry. Can you tell him? Just me. I just want to get a selfie. A selfie with a tiger. Just me. I will stay away, far away. Just like this.
He says cannot.
The guards are adamant that we can't get in to see the tigers. It's incredibly frustrating to be so close. But what they do next is better than the alternative. They let us go.
Can I smell it?
Of course.
Ooh.
Oh,
So it's a little like vinegary and strong liquor, basically.
I can smell it from here. Ugh.
Anna has her suspicions on why they didn't want us filming the tigers.
There's a possibility that those tiger you were looking for might as well end up in this water. The killing hasn't stopped. Wild tiger has come to a point of almost extinct.
When you drive along, quite often there's a good chance of seeing some animals. Things like deer and gaur, wild boar, maybe jackals.
Tigers?
Yep.
Raising tigers is expensive and time-consuming. So criminal networks often rely on another way to satisfy the demand for tiger parts: poaching them from the wild. Before leaving Southeast Asia, I spent 2 days with an elite unit of Thai Forest Rangers on the hunt for tiger poachers.
Didn't sleep very well. I woke up around 2 a.m. and I was absolutely sure there was a tiger right next to me. Of course, none of this was actually happening. Coffee. Very good coffee. So, what are you looking for here, Gao? Footsteps or any sort of evidence that there were poachers here?
ใช่ครับ ตอนนี้หารอยเท้าใหม่ว่าเขากลับมาเอาหรือยัง
So this is just the wildlife trail that we've been using to put the camera on.
Oh, this is the camera. Why is it protected?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is from the elephants, and you see how all this is all bent?
Yeah. Supporting the Rangers' work is Tim Redford, an anti-trafficking expert from the Freeland Foundation.
Who's poaching these tigers?
Fairly poorly paid people, and they're struggling to make a living. And these guys are being exploited by middlemen and kingpins at the top who are making an awful lot of money.
How do you think the tiger farms around this region affect what's happening here in the park?
Poachers are seeing the tiger, farmers are making money. I want some of that as well. It's very easy money to go into the forest and shoot a tiger or snare a tiger. And so the demand is creating more poaching in the forests.
Still worse, wild tiger products are considered more potent, so buyers will pay more for a poached tiger. Even as tigers' numbers decline in the wild, they're rising in captivity in both Asia and the United States. Conservationists say that undermines our ability to push for swifter actions in Asia.
When we want to tell countries like China that they need to shut down tiger farms, we have very little credibility, and we can't even figure out how many big cats we have here.
We're talking to China and other Asian countries to try to get them to stop this captive breeding and tiger farming for the traditional medicine, but their answer to us is, well, you've got 10,000 tigers in captivity in the United States, you're breeding them for petting zoos. How is that more acceptable than breeding them for medicinal purposes?
So why has the US allowed its captive tiger population to grow to such extremes? That's what I want to find out next, which is why I'm returning to the land of the Tiger King.
There's a lot of people jealous about Doc Antle because Doc Antle's got a hell of a facility. And it's rocking.
So it looks like it's a super residential neighborhood over here.
As far as breeders, I was definitely the biggest breeder.
Joe Exotic won't be eligible for parole until 2034. But other private tiger owners are breeding cubs in his place.
My facility is still doing it. So Jeff Lowe is one of the biggest breeders. Doc Antle is a big breeder.
If you watched Tiger King, these names should be familiar, especially Doc Antle, who Joe Exotic has described as a mentor.
And I think this is it. This is the entrance. There's so many cars here already.
His name comes up a lot because there's a lot of people jealous about Doc Antle.
How many guys have been here before? Fresh meat? Everyone?
Because Doc Antle's got a hell of a facility. The breed stock that Doc has, the cubs that Doc produces, he's got such good colors.
Since opening the park in 1983, Bhagavan Doc Antle has raised hundreds of creatures, big and small.
This is my little girl, Bubble.
A bewildering menagerie of exotic animals. including hybrids that don't exist in nature. And we should note, National Geographic previously worked with Antle, though they haven't done so for years.
Step right up. You can pet that big face. Look at those incredible eyelashes.
Wow.
See how she feels right there? Look right there to camera.
Doc Antle is best known for his tigers. If these majestic animals one day disappear from the wild, this could be their future.
Myrtle Beach Safari is an interactive wildlife facility where people can come and visit and get an up-close, uncaged experience that allows them to make a connection with wildlife that isn't available anywhere else.
Operations like Doc Antle's can generate revenues of more than $1 million a year.
I love you.
People pay a premium price to visit the facility. That price goes back towards operating the facility and then goes directly into the wild to support conservation programs.
Specifically, he mentions their support for the Suraya Forest Research Station in Sumatra, Indonesia.
We solely have built ranger stations deep in the jungles. We pay the rangers salaries every day to walk the jungles, to pick up deadly snares, to chase down poachers.
Cub petting is legal in the United States if the facility is licensed by the USDA.
Oh my gosh.
But it is not allowed by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which oversees highly regarded zoos, aquariums, and animal parks.
No reputable facility allows any human contact with big cats. This is something that is only done by roadside zoos.
Oh my God, so beautiful.
Magicians, circuses, and the industries that profit off of the exploitation of big cats.
I think that cub petting is an appalling way to get people to care about tiger conservation because to do it, you have to keep breeding all these cubs.
These cats are taken away from their mothers. They're being handled and passed around.
Oh, he's not very happy.
All just to make a buck.
They're ready for a snack.
A lot of animal experts would say that
They're not experts. Okay, go ahead.
A lot of people would say that petting cubs is an abuse to animals. How is that okay?
By hand raising the cubs, you create for those animals a lifestyle where they're very peaceful about the world that they're in. The cubs are out there for 20 minutes, 3 times a week. So they have 1 hour a week of interaction. That's it, right? Interaction with those cubs from an early life creates for the animal an ability to have a bond with people. His life is lifelong captive. He will never be in the wild. There's a deep confusion going on that is being pushed by fake experts. I'm the only one qualified in this activity of raising cubs. The people you're speaking about are fanatics, extremist fanatics. You're speaking about someone who wishes to push an agenda as hard as Sharia law. Saying that Al-Qaeda is an expert in how to live. Sharia law is correct, and we should all fall in.
I think
Kinda
it's a huge stretch to compare animal rights activists.
Why do you
to
think
Al-Qaeda.
that? You're fortifying the arguments of the enemy. You're helping Al-Qaeda sound like they maybe have merit.
I think that it doesn't pass the smell test to suggest that people who are advocating for a more humane world are Al-Qaeda.
The bizarre story behind tiger keeper Joe Exotic and his feud with animal rights activist Carol Baskin.
But I would like to know what happened to that husband.
Lost in the Tiger King-fueled melodrama surrounding the disappearance of Carol's ex-husband was an explanation of why tiger sanctuaries like Big Cat Rescue actually exist.
People started calling and saying, would you take my lion? Would you take my tiger? And so what I thought was going to be a very easy thing to fix turned into a much bigger project.
Tiger owners in the U.S. have few places to turn when their cute little cub grows into a 450-pound alpha predator, especially when it costs $10,000 a year to feed it.
So Doc Antle, when he was referring to Big Cat Rescue, he called this place a scamtuary.
The sanctuaries, scamtuaries in the United States, I feel, are an enormous drain to saving tigers.
What would you say to that?
I think people like him project their own failings on those around them. We saw that with Joe Exotic. You know, he would constantly accuse me of things that it turned out he was doing.
When I started researching this story, I was shocked to learn it's easier in the U.S. to buy a tiger than to adopt a rescue dog. That's because there's no overarching federal law regulating tiger ownership. But the Baskins would like to change that.
Our primary mission is to put ourselves out of business, and the way we plan to do that is by changing the laws and changing people's minds so that they don't want to see these animals in cages.
In 2003, they helped pass a bill that made it illegal for private owners to sell tigers across state lines.
It's important to remember that they're wild animals and they shouldn't be kept as pets or treated like petting zoo animals.
And their latest lobbying effort is the Big Cat Public Safety Act.
The Big Cat Public Safety Act would ban the private possession of big cats, and it would stop the cub handling.
Doc Antle, on the other hand, argues that new regulations are unnecessary.
This is the animal extremist false narrative that there are big cats being kept in apartment buildings and hidden in backyards. This just does not exist.
In the past decade, Antle's businesses have spent over $1 million lobbying on proposed regulations on captive wildlife and big cat issues, including $390,000 to lobby against the Big Cat Public Safety Act.
Cubs can yield up to $1 million for a roadside zoo during their lifetime. This is big money, and this is why all the roadside zoos are so opposed to the Big Cat Public Safety Act, because it would virtually put a nail in the coffin for this highly lucrative industry.
To shed more light on big cats in America, I'm about to meet with someone who was once a part of Doc Antle's inner circle.
And that's you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. This was...
Oh my God, is this you?
Yeah. My name when I was there was Bala.
Oh, you changed your name when you were there?
Mm-hmm.
Did he make you change your name? Or
He didn't make me change, but if you were in the inner circle, you had changed your name.
Barbara Fisher worked for Doc Antle for 8 years, until leaving in 2007.
I was 19 years old, and I was just looking to run away with the circus, if that makes any sense.
One of her primary jobs was raising tiger cubs.
Knowing what you know now, do you think that there should be tiger cub petting happening in places where humans interact with wild animals like tigers?
No, I'd say no. Do we really need to domesticate tigers? Because that's what's happening. They're breeding them to domestication standards. I mean, they're like dogs. Bhagavan used to say, we need 1,000 arcs to float tigers into the next generation once their habitat has been destroyed to try to rebuild it or whatever. But those tigers that were bred for training are not the same as wild tigers, and he would say that himself.
Why is he breeding all these different kind of tigers?
For profit, because people like to see them.
One of the big things that your critics say is that what you're doing here is breeding tigers for profit.
Breeding a tiger for profit is an idea of the uneducated. Tigers can't be sold.
But you are making money with it as well.
What do you call make money? You're going back into this thing.
People coming here and paying $150 just to take photos.
$500. But is there money left over? No. So am I making money? No.
Antle tells me that he contributes an undisclosed amount to wildlife conservation programs every year. But he claims that's only one of the benefits of his operation.
We're getting this incredible diversified genetics, and we're working towards the healthiest, best tigers that can exist in the modern world. Those tigers have babies to make that continue to happen.
I thought you were going to say, look, yes, this is a business. We're making money. But I don't think there's anything wrong with breeding tigers. But instead, you're telling me that the reason you're doing it is
to run the genetic programs. If you don't do something like what we're working on, there's no hope. There must be a bank of tigers that can go towards the future.
Conservationists I spoke with disagree with Antle's argument. They say Antle's hybrid domesticated tigers could never replace a wild tiger.
A lot of these petting zoos claim that they are preventing the extinction of tigers by maintaining these captive populations, but those captive tigers will never go back into the wild, so what's the point?
Breeders like Joe Exotic and Doc Antle are creating animals who don't exist in the wild. White tigers are not a separate subspecies. They're actually inbred, yet exhibitors like Doc have acknowledged that they like to breed them because they're more interesting. They're crowd pleasers.
People think they're seeing some rare thing, you know, a royal white Bengal tiger, snow white tiger. These are so rare. There's only 10 in captivity. I mean, remember saying stuff like that. People definitely would rather have contact with that tiger than just a plain old tiger that's just orange and black.
Antle argues that wild tigers and captive tigers are virtually the same thing.
The few large tiger parks that exist are completely inundated with people. So there is no real wild that tigers are living in. All tigers are essentially captive, and it is probably all we have left.
One of the big questions that people have is what happens when the tigers are no longer cubs, they can't be petted anymore.
They only go to accredited facilities or to facilities that we have a direct relationship with.
Can you tell me some of those facilities, the names of those facilities that you've sent tigers to before?
You understand that if I tell you their names, the animal extremists will use that as a mailing campaign to attack that place.
So one place that has been reported about is a facility in Thailand called Sunat Prakan.
Yes. I took 7 of my tigers, I put them together, and we flew to Thailand. We hand-delivered them to the facility. It's beautiful, great big open habitats, far exceeding American zoological standards.
In 2019, National Geographic magazine wrote an article that described animal abuse at wildlife parks around the world, including Samut Prakan.
Are you concerned at all that the tigers that you are breeding here are ending up at facilities with terrible conditions for animals?
Your colleague's lying. I've been to the facility a half a dozen times. The facility is not state-of-the-art American facility, but the far worse conditions exist in Florida today. You got an animal extremist right there who probably holds a chicken sandwich in one hand and makes his decisions in the other. That person's Al-Qaeda to the max that put that article together.
I had a hunch she'd say that, which is why I want to see Samut Prakan for myself. In 2005, Doc Antle transferred 7 tigers from Myrtle Beach Safari in South Carolina to Samut Prakan.
There you go. I didn't have all these crocodile bags here.
We walk around the zoo, pretending we're tourists. We can get a true sense of what it's like. Samut Prakan does not appear to be what Doc describes at all.
There's a little cub right here in a cage, 5, 6 weeks old, more or less. I have to smile because the guy is looking at me all the time, but it's a tiny cage, and he's just walking back and forth. Look at that.
Soon after I enter, I'm greeted by a tiger, chained to the ground so that tourists can take photos. I pose for a photo so that we can film the tiger without raising suspicion.
Oh my God, that was really disturbing. All so that you can have a photo with a tiger, you know?
As I walk further into the zoo, I see tigers spacing in small cages.
See how his eyes are different, and one has a hard time focusing? He's actually blind for one of his eyes.
To my untrained eye, the conditions at the zoo look deplorable.
Tigers are complex apex predators, and in the wild, they have home ranges of up to hundreds of square miles. Any reputable sanctuaries provide naturalistic habitats. They would never chain an animal. They would never use negative reinforcement or physical abuse. They would never allow public contact. And they provide a refuge to these animals for life.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see 6 tigers in a really small enclosure. This is about the size of a basketball court. The sun is right on them. It's really hot, 90-something degrees. Really, really sad.
We don't know exactly how big this tiger enclosure is, and Samut Prakan did not respond to our request for comments.
He said it's the most beautiful, clean place, remember?
Right. It's beautiful, great big open habitats, far exceeding American zoological standards.
Doc Antle also did not respond to follow-up questions after my visit to Samut Prakan. Back in America, he's facing serious allegations. On October 8, 2020, the state of Virginia indicted Doc Antle on 15 charges, including wildlife trafficking and animal cruelty. The felony charges allege that Antle trafficked lion cubs between South Carolina and Virginia.
I categorically deny any animal cruelty ever. I spend my entire life promoting the welfare and conservation of big cats and other species.
His trial is pending. As for the Tiger King himself, his final thoughts surprise me.
I hate to sound like an animal rights person, but my whole outlook on animals being in captivity since I've been in jail has changed. If I would have known 20 years ago what life inside a cage is like, I would never have had a zoo. It doesn't matter if it's a tiger or a gerbil. No animal belongs in a cage.
However, it will take a lot more than Joe Exotic's change of heart to save the world's wild tigers.
The situation for tigers on this planet absolutely is not hopeless. We know how to protect tigers in the wild. All you need to do is lock down protected areas, protect the tigers from poaching, protect them from habitat loss, and tigers in those protected areas will thrive.
Consumers on both sides of the globe will have to ask themselves some hard questions. But what other choice do we have?
You know, you talk to kids and you ask them what's your favorite animal, and most say tigers. And if we can't preserve such a charismatic species as a tiger, we can't preserve anything.
So we're about an hour away from the border, trying to make it to Ukraine. And we're sort of in a race against time, trying to get there before curfew. We don't know exactly what the situation is at the border. You know, obviously we're heading towards a war zone, so they're all a little bit on edge.
Moscow has now unleashed Europe's largest ground conflict since World War II.
We are facing an unprecedented act of aggression.
This isn't my first trip into dangerous territory. For nearly 2 decades, I've pursued and exposed the world's most profitable black markets. But I've never encountered any product quite like this. The commercial surrogacy industry brings in over $4 billion a year. Yet, no one knows exactly how many babies are changing hands around the world. The industry is outlawed in much of Asia and Europe, but not here, in war-torn Ukraine.
A basement serving as a bomb shelter nursery for 21 surrogate babies.
I was shocked to discover that Ukraine is one of the world's top destinations for commercial surrogacy, and that many of these infants trapped by war are American babies. This story sent me on a journey to expose the dark side of this global market, where surrogates are being imprisoned, raped, and even left to die, manipulated by shadowy players who profit from the wounds of vulnerable women.
They are very desperate girls. I lure them into a more lucrative shortcut to make money, to corrupt the minds.
So I just got word that there was a baby who was born today in Ukraine, a surrogate baby. Project Dynamo is there trying to get this baby, rescue it, and bring it to safety.
Okay, Dynamo!
Project Dynamo is a US-based organization that has been operating in this war zone.
You probably hear the air raid sirens because they're bombing on the other side of the city.
Their mission? To rescue trapped civilians, including surrogates and newborns.
Mariana Van Zeller, we're national. Yes, Lviv.
Okay.
Medica is the busiest border crossing between Poland and Ukraine.
This is the border you could walk across. So this is on the target list. The Russians really want to bomb right here. They don't because they're afraid of NATO.
Thank you.
But at some point, there's going to be some Russian artillery guy, and he's going to push a button, and one day, they're going to hit a border.
Once I'm through, I finally meet my contact, Brian Stern, the co-founder of Project Dynamo.
It is crazy to me what you're doing here. I mean, you're an American citizen, right? Former Navy, and you find yourself in Ukraine rescuing surrogate families and babies.
We've been doing operations pretty much every day since February 24th, since the day of the war.
Brian is uniquely qualified for this work. He's a combat veteran and a former Navy intelligence officer.
Everyone's boarding the buses. We're bringing people across the border. People need help, and being able to do rescue operations in weird places with Russian bad guys everywhere and artillery and missiles, being able to do that is a skill, and we're very good at this.
Since Project Dynamo's arrival in Ukraine, they've rescued thousands of people, including 68 surrogate-born babies.
First one that we did was premature twin boys. They were on ventilators and feeding tubes and incubators and the whole bit. As we picked them up, we were taking artillery fire from the Russians at both hospitals. It was early days in the war.
Did you think when you started this that the surrogacy industry would be so big and that you'd have to be a part of so many rescues?
Honestly, I didn't really know anything about surrogacy when I came here.
Neither did I. Before I set off into Ukraine, I tracked down a Ukrainian surrogate named Olya, who sought refuge in Poland.
Was it your decision to move, or were you asked to move because you were carrying this baby?
Второе. It's the second option because she was asked to, yes. Biological parents who really insisted that they have to be moved.
Olya is 4 months pregnant. She's carrying a child for a couple from Seattle who turned to surrogacy after 9 miscarriages. Because Olya signed a contract, she's not entirely in control of her body, and this reproductive arrangement is far from unique. Today, more than a quarter of American women struggle with impaired fertility, and media outlets are sounding the alarm.
Humans across the globe are becoming increasingly less fertile.
Birth rates in America have fallen to the lowest levels in about 90 years.
Science now offers solutions, and surrogacy is one of them, as seen in advertisements that highlight the marketplace in Ukraine.
Дне материнства – это просто. Подари радость материнства. Стань суррогатной мамой.
Commercial surrogacy allows an infertile couple to implant their embryo into a healthy third-party surrogate for an agreed-upon price. In the United States, that can cost as much as $200,000, while in Ukraine, Europe's poorest country, it's as little as $30,000.
Поток, который может одинокая девушка заработать за год.
When Olya delivers this baby, she'll be paid $24,000. That's 6 times her annual salary. A life-changing sum for her. But I discover that Olya must give birth in Ukraine. She can't stay in Poland.
In a lot of countries, surrogacy is against the law. So if a surrogate gives birth in Poland, because they don't recognize surrogacy, that baby belongs to her.
If Olya then tries to give the baby to its American parents, she could be charged with child trafficking, and the baby becomes a ward of the Polish state.
So as crazy as it seems and it sounds, the only way for them to actually give birth to these surrogate babies is here, being here in a war zone in Ukraine.
That's why Brian and I are at the border, waiting for an American couple that has traveled 6,000 miles from their home in San Francisco to rescue their newborn son, Vincent, who was born to a Ukrainian surrogate last night, inside a war zone.
People get killed out here every single day. I mean, just happens. They're not safe until they're safe.
Brian and his team quickly move us to an undisclosed safe house outside Ukraine's westernmost city, Lviv, where I finally get an opportunity to speak with baby Vincent's parents.
Did you guys always want to have kids? Was that always the plan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, obviously there's the family element that are like, Gio, it's your turn, you know, everyone's getting to have families now, what's going on, you know, and that's kind of the Asian family thing, I guess.
It's a Portuguese family thing,
Yeah,
too.
Portuguese too, right? But in our hearts, too, we both wanted children.
Gio and Candace have known each other since childhood. But it wasn't until their early 30s that they reconnected, fell in love, and got married. When Candace was diagnosed with uterine cancer, the couple turned to surrogacy to start their family. It was too expensive in the US, so they traveled to Ukraine for the procedure and were told to return in about 9 months. But then, the Russians attacked.
It was scary. It's definitely scary.
With their baby in harm's way, they knew they had no choice but to come rescue him.
We wanted to nurture someone. From the moment he was a little peanut, and we couldn't get him off our mind, the whole concept.
It is the best thing in the world.
Amen. Thank you.
But rescuing Vincent isn't guaranteed.
There is no embassy to call. That's not here. If things go wrong, it's our problem to deal with. So we are very much on our own. We're rolling to get baby Vincent. So the surrogate needs to be put on ice for a little bit. and we'll be baby on board maybe an hour.
Less than 24 hours ago, baby Vincent was born. Now, Brian Stern and his medical team are on an urgent mission to get him out of the war-torn country.
I'm always kind of nervous because things go wrong. Things just happen.
The plan is for Brian to pick up Vincent from the hospital, then deliver him to his parents, who are heading towards a safer meeting point outside the city.
No, I don't really take a deep breath until I get them out of Ukraine as soon as we can. All right, rock and roll.
У мене залишилася в цьому маска. Добрий день. Скажіть, будь ласка, ми за дитинкою від сурогатної мами.
Листу користування. Їхня?
Oh man, hold on. She's telling us now that the baby must be given to our hands only.
The hospital refuses to release the baby to anyone other than his biological parents. But for Brian and the Project Dynamo team, that's not the only hurdle they face in getting Vincent out of the country.
So the problem is that the passports say one thing and the marriage certificate says something else, correct? I understand. Their paperwork is up. And it'll be Candace's maiden name, probably, if I had to guess. And therefore, they're not sure if they can issue a birth certificate in the right names. This whole thing is a mess.
These roadblocks exist for good reason. Ukraine produces some 2,000 surrogate births each year. It's critical that they make sure these babies don't get misplaced, or worse, trafficked. Project Dynamo is fighting the good fight, helping to unite desperate families. But the chaos of war could have a profound effect, pushing the surrogacy market into less regulated countries.
There's been a storm of controversy over the Indian government's move to restrict child surrogacy. It considers it a rent-a-womb industry that exploits impoverished young women.
India was once the top destination for commercial surrogacy, before the country banned it in 2015, when it discovered women were being abused and exploited, and an untold number of babies were sold onto the black market. Thousands of miles south of Ukraine, I've heard these horror stories are taking place in one of the industry's newest frontiers.
It is every woman's dream to hear a son or a girl calling you mommy. But white people should not take advantage of African.
If I'm going to investigate the criminal corners of this marketplace, I need to speak with people who know criminals. That's why my Kenyan contacts put me in touch with these two women.
Do you think that the parents, the foreign parents, know that this is happening? Do they care?
They don't care. So you're feeling happy because you have children who are saying, hi daddy, hi mom. But did you know the mother has died? You will think about that and it will haunt you.
Mary is a former prostitute who now advocates on behalf of sex workers' rights. Her friend, who we'll call Michelle, does not want to be identified because she recruits Kenyan women into commercial surrogacy. She says it offers an escape from extreme poverty if it's done right.
For me, carrying a baby, it's bringing a life in the world. So it should be treated with respect. And you should care about the person who's carrying the pregnancy. But in Kenya, women are suffering. Really, women are suffering.
Unregulated surrogacy markets are expanding around the world, especially in countries like Mexico, Colombia, and right here in Kenya. Mary and Michelle tell me it can be a very dirty business when it operates in Nairobi's shadows.
Do you hear a lot of these stories of women being exploited, them not being paid what they were told,
yes,
violation of their rights?
It is high.
Really, you hear this a lot?
They share horrific stories of surrogates dying during childbirth. Others held captive for months. And all of it for the product growing in their womb. The entire process costs tens of thousands of US dollars, but many surrogates get paid as little as $500.
The money you're given, it's peanut.
Surrogacy isn't technically illegal in Kenya. In fact, it's openly advertised. But there aren't any specific laws regulating it. That means couples must hire costly lawyers to navigate the country's child trafficking laws, which ironically ends up fueling cheaper black market operators like Michelle.
And I'm gonna go around this way?
Yeah, go straight.
Straight.
Tonight, she plans to recruit another surrogate from inside a Nairobi slum.
This way, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes. Also, not a very safe roundabout.
Got it.
We have a lot of snatchers here.
Snatchers?
Yeah. The men try to bully us. You lock the car.
Far away from Nairobi's tourist districts, Michelle offers to show me how she recruits surrogates.
So where are we going?
We're going to meet a lady that I'm expecting to be a surrogate on behalf of the couple that is in Germany.
Why do you think she'd be a good person to be a surrogate?
She's very smart. She's a single mother, and she's also a sex worker.
Oh, wow.
It turns out Michelle is a pimp. And the women she recruits are prostitutes. A fact she doesn't mention to the foreign couples.
Do you think there's a stigma attached to sex workers that would make parents perhaps not want to have sex workers as their surrogate mother?
Yes, there is stigma because everybody knows what it means by being a sex worker.
Michelle claims she's doing this to empower the country's desperate women.
Here. Okay, so Michelle, do you go out? Okay, we'll be here waiting.
All right.
She went inside. Here, can you see if you can hear her? You can hear?
No.
Okay, here she is. Can you hear her now?
Yeah. She's asking, why are you afraid? And she's saying, you know, sex work and carrying pregnancy is a different thing, and I didn't know what I'll go through. Michelle's saying, I'm giving you business. Don't you want it? You don't want to live a better life? She's saying, if they will pay me better, and as long as my children will have a better life.
Oh, so she's into the idea.
I'll be in as long as I get money. They have agreed it's okay.
You feel good?
I'm happy, but we have to go. I'm pimping a man and lady.
Oh, so you want to go there now?
Yeah, to pimp.
In some black markets, it's hard to tell the good guys from the bad. I can't yet decide if I think Michelle is actually helping Kenyan women or just helping herself. She claims she's liberating them from the dangers of sex work, but she may be steering them towards an equally dangerous undertaking. The following morning, Mary takes me to meet a former surrogate called Ashley, who experienced these dangers firsthand.
My mom had 5 children. She was a single mom. I saw her, she was struggling to raise us, so I had to join sex work.
About a year ago, Ashley was approached by a surrogacy agent, a well-dressed Kenyan woman in a fancy car, who began grooming Ashley.
She comes and bring you a nice dress, nice earrings, heels, because that's what I like.
Once Ashley agreed to carry a child, the agent took her to a fertility clinic, where they implanted the embryo and promised to pay her just over $800 US.
Did you want to know any information about the parents?
Yeah, but they told me no, that's confidential. I'm getting paid not to know anything, just to give them what they want.
Ashley was given a strict set of rules. She couldn't tell anyone what she was doing. She couldn't contact anyone. She could never, ever leave the apartment.
You are not allowed to have friends.
Did you think it was strange that they didn't let you get out of the house?
They told me that it was security purpose. Maybe I'd run away with the pregnancy. Maybe I decided to abort.
Ashley's rent was paid for, and every week, someone brought her food.
Sometimes they send a man, sometimes a woman, and they were always wearing masks.
Oh, so you wouldn't be able to see who it was? Even though they told you the rules was you couldn't tell anyone, why didn't you?
Because I've heard stories that if you go back from your deal, they can kill you.
What happened next almost did kill Ashley. Her body began cramping and bleeding. She was going into labor. Ashley was rushed to the hospital.
Did they know you were a surrogate, or did they think you were just a pregnant
I wasn't asked any question. No one was talking to me about anything.
And you never saw the baby? You don't remember delivering?
It was a boy, but after I gave birth, I never saw anything. They said they are injecting me so that I'll stop bleeding because I was bleeding a lot.
And then you woke up and suddenly you're in a different hospital.
Yeah. And they told me you are free to go.
The agent who'd recruited Ashley was gone.
They don't even care whether I died. If I bled to death, it was not their concern. They got what they wanted and they disappeared.
So they didn't actually pay you the whole money?
No. They stole from me and used me.
Did you ever think of going to the police and telling them what happened to you?
I didn't have any evidence to prove what I'm saying is true.
In this murky industry with no clear regulations, a vulnerable woman like Ashley had little security. She never signed a contract. All she had was the agent's cell phone number.
I called that number that woman gave me. It was no longer in service.
We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try again.
These girls, when you get them from the village, they are basically uneducated and they are poor. They are doing this because of desperation. So I try to corrupt their minds.
He tells me to call him Peter. He isn't the agent who cheated Ashley, but he plays the same role in the surrogacy supply chain.
Why do you use the word corrupt?
Because their dream is money. I turned their dream into another thing. Isn't that corrupting somebody's mind?
But do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
It's not the right thing to do, but I'm in this business. The girls who come to the city, they have just 2 dresses, 1 pair of shoes, and they have nowhere to sleep, even that night. That's why they contact me. Even today in the morning, I had 4 wanting to go.
Wow. So you recruit young female workers?
Young female workers.
Peter runs a legal employment agency that places Kenyan domestic workers in households throughout the Middle East. But that's not his only source of income.
Let me make it simple for you. My company is both a decoy and a genuine agency. You understand?
I do. Peter is simultaneously managing his employment agency and a black market surrogacy operation.
I lure them into a more lucrative shortcut to make money.
Do you make more money from sending these women abroad?
No, I make more money on surrogacy.
Even though surrogacy isn't illegal in Kenya, doing it lawfully can be challenging and cost prohibitive. And that's where Peter's operation comes into play. Peter is the powerful liaison between infertile foreign couples and some of Kenya's most desperate women. And he claims to have used these women to successfully deliver babies to clients from Russia, Turkey, the Philippines, and yes, the United States. For his part in the operation, he tells me he receives somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000.
Of that money that you receive, how much of that money goes to the surrogate mother and how much of that money goes to you?
We negotiate. Sometimes they're very difficult. It's me carrying the baby, I have to take more.
I mean, they have
It's
a
a give and
point.
take, and they have a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you are in the perfect position to exploit
I
these
mean,
girls,
I can
right?
exploit them if I want.
And so do you?
Peter tries to persuade me that he's an honest broker in a dishonest business.
I am normally very good to them. Where would a guy like that make that kind of money in their life?
He tells me he's not the only one running surrogates in Nairobi's shadows.
A lot of people are doing it here in Kenya. A lot of people.
And why do you think that is? Why Kenya?
We get away with a lot of things in Kenya. So the plan now is,
We head to the safe house?
all right, go back to the main road.
Peter keeps his pregnant surrogates in what he calls a safe house, far outside of town.
Are the surrogate mothers in the safe house the whole time?
The whole time, and I employ somebody to keep an eye. They have to be undercover.
Are we close?
Not very far. Sometimes they have complaints. Human beings can never be satisfied. They say the safe house is not good. I'm being watched over like a kid. I want to be free. I want to walk around.
One of the things that Peter told us was that he prefers if the women stay in the house and don't go out for big walks or don't...
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it.
I managed to convince Peter to wait outside while I interview one of his surrogates, Sylvie.
Do you ever leave the safe house, or are you here all the time?
I don't leave the house.
Ever?
I only go upstairs where we hang our clothes. For my exercise, I do it here. I walk here.
And so you never ever leave?
I don't leave.
Sylvie tells me she's a single mother who was desperately searching for housekeeping work overseas, until Peter convinced her that surrogacy would be much more lucrative.
My kids don't know, my family don't know, my mom doesn't know. Nobody knows apart from me.
In fact, Sylvie's family believes she is working in the Middle East. That's why Peter's safe house is located on the outskirts of the city, far away from anyone who might recognize Sylvie.
Can I ask you
I've
how much
never
money you're
calculated.
making?
That is private. I don't like sharing that part.
Can I just ask you if it's more than $5,000?
No, it's less than.
So it's less than $5,000.
Yeah.
That may not sound like much, but it's a significant amount of money in a country where a third of all Kenyans live on less than $2 a day. And Sylvie tells me it will change her children's lives for the better.
He didn't force me. He didn't trick me. Maybe that's what he thinks, but...
That's what he said. That's how he said it.
I'm doing it from my heart. I'd really love someone to feel how I feel as a parent.
I came to this safe house expecting to meet a deliberately misinformed surrogate under Peter's control. But Sylvie knows that she's likely participating in a black market. One with no guarantees and potentially life-threatening risks for her and the baby.
Were you concerned about that? Did you ask those questions?
I did, but I had already decided I'll do it. When you come from poverty, any offer is an offer. As long as this offer brings money, you know?
It seems everyone I've met is taking calculated risks for the money. But there's still one missing link in Peter's supply chain.
So we've been trying to get a doctor to talk to us because one of the things about the surrogacy industry is that without doctors, it really doesn't work. And we've been hitting brick wall after brick wall. They stand to lose a lot, including their jobs if they talk about this.
But Peter has convinced his doctor to meet us today.
I've heard he's super nervous, but I'm hoping that we can convince him to talk. Okay, he says he's here. I think that's him. Okay, doctor. What do you think would happen to you if you were caught?
One, I'll lose my license. Two, I'll fall into jail. For a couple of years, I don't know. And I'll definitely lose my family.
This is the doctor that's the linchpin in Peter's black market operation. While Peter oversees the foreign couples, the surrogate recruitment, and the safe houses, it all means nothing without a medical professional who can supervise the pregnancy. And because the doctor works at one of Nairobi's best public hospitals, he has the perfect cover, delivering illegal surrogate babies without raising suspicion.
Doc, how did you get involved in the surrogacy business?
It took them a lot of time to convince me because I didn't want to get involved in it.
And so what convinced you to do it then?
I did it for one, for the money. The other reason was I looked at the ladies who are getting into this business and I thought this is a big break for them. They're going to make money out of it. How can I make it safe for them? I don't want anybody dying on my hands.
Sub-Saharan Africa has the world's highest maternal mortality rates. A Kenyan woman is 15 times more likely to die during childbirth than a woman in the United States. The doctor tells me he personally knows of Kenyans who have died delivering babies for foreign couples. But because this is illegal, their families never find out what happened to them.
Are you getting emotional talking about this?
Yeah, definitely. What daughter? What if that was my daughter?
How many other doctors are out here in Kenya doing this?
I think there are a dozen of us doing it.
A dozen?
Yeah.
The doctor tells me he's delivered surrogate babies for Australians, Canadians, and Americans. Sometimes 5 babies a month. So many that he's lost count.
So why did you agree to talk to us?
Well, I agreed to talk to you because once this is out to the world, we begin to get proper solutions, proper legislation to make it legal. If I keep quiet, who's going to talk about it?
The doctor gives me a lead on where to head next. He says he only delivers the babies. He doesn't create and implant the embryos. That has to happen inside one of the 6 state-of-the-art IVF clinics.
We know there's an existence of this black market, and this black market doesn't exist without an IVF clinic. It just doesn't.
I can guarantee to you that none of our surrogacy arrangements is done underhand. All of it is well above board.
Dr. Joshua Norrie is the medical director at the Nairobi IVF Center, the biggest fertility clinic in the country, where they perform up to 100 embryo implantations every month.
But how can you be sure that the surrogate mothers that you're implanting aren't in fact going to be exploited later on?
Yes, when the client falls into the hands of an agency, it's difficult for us to know what is happening. So we may not have control over that.
Dr. Norrie assures me that his clinic takes great pains to vet their surrogates and weed out criminal operators. But because the IVF process is highly specialized, it's clear that at least one of Kenya's 6 clinics is implanting embryos into the country's black market surrogates. What I still don't understand is how the babies are getting out of the country. In Kenya, custody can only be transferred to the biological parents through the court system, but that can take months, even years, which sends frightened foreigners into the arms of the underworld.
If it is completely illegal, then how are the parents being able to take the kids out of the country?
So the birth certificate will come out with the names of the couple.
So the paperwork was forged?
Yes.
But the doctor knows the baby didn't come from...
Yes, we have a doctor there who deals with such.
Oh, but you pay the doctor?
Yes.
I came to Kenya in search of a black market that operates in Nairobi shadows. Instead, I uncovered an open secret, one that takes place in broad daylight. And after everything I've witnessed, it's hard to believe the couples from places like Australia and America are kept completely in the dark.
Do you think they know that...
I tell them.
You tell them, look, what you're doing is actually illegal?
It's illegal, so we have to keep this in confidence.
And what do they say?
You know, for desperation of having a child, they play with my son.
They do?
They do. Because the child is present.
Once again, in the center of Europe, innocent women, men and children are dying.
By the 4th month of the war in Ukraine, nearly 9,000 civilian casualties were documented across the country. This grim statistic wasn't going to deter one American couple.
Whether it takes a war or, whatever for us to go through to get to this. That's nothing to us, it's all worth it.
Unlike Kenya, there are specific laws regulating commercial surrogacy in Ukraine. These laws are intended to make sure that every child is delivered to its rightful biological parents. Gio and Candace were initially having difficulty proving their relationship to their son, but Brian Stern and Project Dynamo were able to clear up the confusion.
So Candace and Gio just met the surrogate mother's mother and son. The surrogate mother is inside with the baby, and this is the moment of the big meeting. They're very, very anxious and nervous for this moment.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yes.
I'm ready. You ready? You want to meet him?
Oh my God, that's the surrogate mother.
After years of frustration trying to conceive, a 6,000-mile journey, and a full-scale war, Gio and Candace are finally going to meet their son.
Oh, he's coming right now.
He comes.
So this is it. Oh, wow. The baby's coming out.
Baby Vincent.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you see him?
Baby breath. It's everything.
He looks just like you.
That smell, you know, that baby smell, I want to smell my boy for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, feel that?
Oh, I do.
And it's becoming a reality. Vincent. We want to bring Bort alive and give all the gifts that we have.
Yeah, you're...
Oh, he's so beautiful.
As this American family makes its way out of war-torn Ukraine, there's no doubt that of all the products I've pursued in my career, this one is the most beautiful. This is a marketplace that isn't initially motivated by greed, but by love. But like so many industries, without strict regulations, profits are valued over people, even if those people are pregnant women and unborn babies. In these places, everyone is at the mercy of the black market.
And can I ask you, Agnes, how much money are you making from surrogacy? $25,000?
Yes.
Agnes is another sex worker Michelle recruited. But the payment she's been promised sounds extremely suspect. It's far more than any surrogacy offer I've encountered in Kenya.
That's a lot of money. Is she really going to get $25,000?
Yes, she'll get. But we are going to transfer that money into her account maybe on Friday.
Agnes is already 7 months pregnant. She's carrying a child for a German couple.
Have you received any money whatsoever, Agnes? Nothing yet. Doesn't part of the money should come before?
Yes, I told her when the money will be deposited, I will take it to her place. It is okay.
But that's really risky, considering you're already 7 months pregnant. Are you sure you're going to receive that money? You trust Michelle?
From what I've seen, trust isn't enough to protect Kenya's surrogates from exploitation. And even if Agnes receives all the money she's been promised, her story will be the exception, not the rule.
I know there is another woman being lied to me like me. They won't get paid. They'll use them and dump them.